launch. Well, I don't.
First downs and donuts, Duncan's got 'em stacked. Silver and black attack, yeah, we're never looking back. Crowds on fire, feel the nation in the zone. Raiders rolling strong, bring it all the way home. He's got the glaze, got the grit, got the power in his stride. Duncan hits the sideline and the stadium ignites. Another chain moves and the fans all rise. Shields in the air, Vegas lights in our eyes. First downs and donuts, we like victory. Duncan keeps it cooking for the Raider family. One more drive, let the anthem ring. Raider Nation forever, let the Shield King sing. You all come back now, back now.
What's up, Raider Nation? Show me your shield. Little Friday night pull up. One of my first follow guys I used to follow. Sent a little chat out to him. Say, hey man, you want to hook up, collaborate, do a little something? Maybe go. And I said, hey, how about tonight? Because I'm down. So obviously, Raider Nation, we're in a quandary right now. Who's our coach? Who's our quarterback? Who's our center? Shit, who's our ball boy? Right? So we're gonna. I mean, there's so many if, ands, or buts that are tied to it, and we're gonna try and cam through them. We're just gonna have conversation, a little debate, a little discussion. I know the other day, I'm not sure, but I think Rebel misunderstood me in my chat the other day on his show. But we're going to clarify. We'll get some of that clarified so it makes more sense to him as well. Because just
Fuck
like,
Fernando.
huh?
Fuck Fernando.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the other side of the fence on that one, my friend.
Nah, I don't care either way, man.
And you know what? I have alternatives too. I'm not. This isn't like a bromance, I guess you could call it. I know Raider Jeff, he's like, you're so in love with I said, dude, stop.
You ain't infatuated.
Stop. Okay. There's a reason why I'm acting the way I'm acting, and it's the same reason everybody else in Raider Nation is acting the way we're acting, is because what? We ain't had a fucking franchise quarterback. I mean, Derek Carr was our franchise quarterback, but he never took us to that next level. So it's almost like that guy that, down on Skid Row looking for the next fix when we just ain't found that fix. So for those on my channel, if you want to introduce yourself, I'm going to start scrolling through the chat and making sure we get people honored here.
But I will say though, in Derek Carr's defense, like what team did he have? I mean, you had 2 good years with, had 1 good year with Del Rio, started building it up, and you go 12-4, and then boom, he's fired, and the team fall apart. You got Khalil Mack traded, you got Amari Cooper traded, like got no weapons. So in Derek Carr's defense, and in Mendoza's defense, are the Raiders going to do the same thing with Mendoza? I mean, it doesn't matter who we have at quarterback if you don't have a team around him. This is a team sport. It's always been a team sport. It will always be a team sport. They say there's no I in team there, but there's I integrity, and right there's but this has always been a team sport. No quarterback has ever won a Super Bowl without a great defense, except for one. That wasn't a top 15 defense. No quarterback has won a Super Bowl without a great offensive line, without a run game, without receivers, it's a team sport. So no matter
Yep.
how good your quarterback is, if you don't put the right pieces around him, no matter if he's drafted 1, 2, 15, or the last pick in the draft, it doesn't matter. You have to have supporting cast. And, the Raiders never gave that to Derek Carr, right? They never had a top 15 defense. He never had a top 10 defense. He had a very highly paid offensive line and a top, probably top 15 offensive line. But he was asked
I think in 16 they were a little bit better than they were in the top 10, but that was their prime in 2016.
Yeah, and look at the results though. Look at the results.
Yeah.
The numbers showed, right? Did he not do his job? Did he not get us where we needed to be when he had the weapons around him? When he didn't have the weapons around him, he was asked to do everything. Tom Brady was never asked to do everything like that. Peyton Manning was never asked to do anything like that.
Patrick Mahomes not asked to do everything like that.
Been asked to do anything like that. Look at the Chiefs where they are right now. Everybody says Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback to ever live. What was their record this year? With the exact same team? Wait. But what happened to the Chiefs, right?
Oh.
His supporting cast wasn't great. His offensive line wasn't great. He ran for his life, and their defense wasn't what it used to be, and their record showed, right? So no matter how good your quarterback, and my point is, it doesn't matter unless you have the right pieces to the puzzle. And it's a puzzle, and if you're missing one piece, you can't hang that shit on your wall because it's going to look like trash because you got a missing piece, right? If you have one piece of the puzzle, it doesn't work. Every team that's won a Super Bowl has had 3 phases: special teams, defense, offense, great coaching staff. You don't see teams make it to the Super Bowl with a bad coaching staff and a great defense and a great quarterback. Like it all has to click, and until they find something that clicks or some kind of continuity to a coach that can establish what he wants and roll with that for a couple years, it doesn't matter who's behind center.
And that's exactly where we're kind of going with this. It doesn't matter what player we want until we get the coaching staff solidified, and then attack free agency, because obviously we got so many people, we got so many needs. Free agency is going to be the key component, and that is going to dictate how we draft. Bottom line, if we don't get what we need in free agency to fill those holes, and it's going to be 1 or 2 pieces on the offensive line at least, at minimum, before you even think about putting a rookie quarterback back there behind it. And I totally understand. I totally understand that. It's just my take on it is I think a lot of the knocks that are going against Fernando Mendoza aren't necessarily true, and aren't necessarily. I think a lot of people are taking
like what
snippets. Well, specifically on how his style of play, right? So he's running predominantly a pro style with an RPO emphasis at Indiana. But the way he plays that, he most definitely can transition into a West Coast style offense, because they actually have West Coast concepts built in their red zone packages that are really effective.
Excuse me.
So, and that's just, now a lot of people are going to look at the stats. Well, that's fine, but you also got to take into consideration he only played 13 and a half games this year. The scoreboard's going to say he played 16 games, but if you go back against Kennesaw State, Old Dominion, Wisconsin, and then he was pulled in the fourth quarter, he was pulled late in, it was Wisconsin game. So those 3 games specifically, he was pulled either at halftime or partway through the third quarter. So those stats are going to be a little bit skewed, number one. Number 2, Indiana didn't ask him to throw it 50 times a game, which that's going to throw that off. He's got a high completion percentage, but he's got low attempts, low completions. But when he does execute, his completions are high and comparable. I mean, a 72% completion rate is pretty damn good.
But let me. The stats don't show everything though. If you're throwing back shoulder, where a defender has no chance to make a play on the ball, when it's a timing throw, when when it's on
Who was
time.
who was the king of the back shoulder pass?
He has, you know what I'm saying? He has no chance to make a play. Usually the receiver is in front of, you know, most of the time is in front of the defender is in front of the receiver, and he's following him down the field, right? Or, you know, sometimes you might get behind him, but for a little bit, he's in front of him. And if you stop dead center, right, that defender doesn't have. So a lot of his throws, you know, those back shoulder throws are a lot of great catches. I mean, Charlie Becker has made some insane catches.
Mhm.
Elijah Surratt has made some insane catches. A lot of his yards are from Omar Cooper Jr. If you look at his yak yards after the catch, they're ridiculous.
So having said that, Rebel,
You know,
having
like,
said that,
so he has the receivers, but I'm just saying, if you look at his stats, yes, he's a game manager. They put him in a predicament where he thrives, and every coach in every system in every staff should do that with their quarterback. If they did that, you know, I think there'd be a lot more better teams in the NFL. Like, a lot of teams want to force, and if you listen to the greats like Tom Brady or Kurt Warner on X, you know, on Twitter when he's always posting, a lot of these guys are, even the great Davis Webb that everybody's, you know, talking about hiring. Listen to his interview. A lot of these quarterbacks are asked to do stuff that they can't do, right? That because their coach wants them to do it his way. They're not built to their strengths.
the back shoulder pass is one of the most difficult passes to complete, especially from cross field, from one hash to the other side of the field.
Well, yeah, I mean,
very difficult. But while we're banging his balls about being a back shoulder thrower, do we go back into the stat record and tell Devontae Adams and Rodgers that they can't have all the, because they were the fucking experts at that pass. It was deadly. And if you go watch Aqib Talib point blank today on a podcast that I was watching, said that is the most dangerous pass for a fucking quarterback. It's almost impossible to beat, is a back shoulder fade. Now, I'm going to take the two comparisons, and reason why the back shoulder pass is probably going to be a little bit more effective in the NFL than it is in college is because in college, you could bump the fucking receiver all the way down the field.
Yep.
Right? So it's harder for the receiver to get on top to where he can get over the top of the defender versus, hey, this guy he's locking me down with his elbow and his hips. I can't get off him. Perfectly legal, can't throw a flag because they can hit all the way down the field, right? So what's your best option to that? Sell the go, hit the stop.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, but let me push back on that. What are Aaron Rodgers' stats and numbers since he hasn't had Devontae with that back shoulder throw?
You got to develop that chemistry. There's a
guy
on our team. There's a guy on our team. There's a guy on our team that wears number 89 that can fucking execute that play.
But you don't always have a Elijah Surratt or a Omar Cooper or a Becker that could make, you know, those back throws. And I'm not saying he can't make all the throws. I'm just saying,
yeah.
When you're put in a spotlight and you're supposed to be the number one pick, and you run more RPOs in a college championship game when you know the team that's going to draft you, Tom Brady, Mark Davis, and Spytek are all in the building.
They're there to win a game, not impress scouts.
Yeah, I get it, but why are you running more RPOs than you usually do? Like,
because
why run more RPOs though? Let this kid throw the ball a little bit.
That's because you got Messidor and Bain on the other side that's going to eat your fucking clock.
And if you
run a 5 and 7 step drop, so the only way to counter that is you got to make them respect the draw.
Exactly,
you just have to.
Everything is a system throw, and I've said this, you know, a bunch of times on my channel. If you go back and watch the year before with Curtis Rourke, the exact same size quarterback, the exact same throws. You can watch the all 22 film. You can watch every game. You can watch whatever you want. It's the exact same throws in the exact same system. And 12 games, because he didn't play in the last game because he got hurt. He played most of the last 4 or 5 games with the messed up ACL, but he was still playing. So on a bad leg, he still had 29 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. That's better numbers than the number 1 pick overall. Curtis Rourke was drafted 7th overall, 227th in the draft. And I know because he was hurt, But in San Francisco, of all teams, like why would San Francisco take him? They're like, man, this kid's just going to keep falling. Like we got a franchise quarterback right here. If Fernando Mendoza's a franchise quarterback, then they got to steal. But if it's a product of the system, right? If it's a product of the system, because if he was a franchise quarterback and Curtis Rourke had the numbers that he had in college, why didn't they show him more in preseason? He had one game. They had Mac Jones got hurt. Brock Purdy was hurt at a time, right? Mac Jones had a shoulder. Where was Curtis Rourke? Throw him in one time, late in games or games you got.
Yeah, but they were winning with Mac Jones, so it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, but then he got hurt at the towards the end too. He was limping around, had a bad shoulder, had a bad leg, right before Purdy came back. So if this kid was number one overall pick like Mendoza, right? They would have had him out there instead of Mac Jones, maybe, possibly. I'm just saying, but the numbers for Curtis Rourke are exactly the same. And if you go back and watch film, and if you put it in black and white so you can't see the numbers, bro, they look like the exact same quarterback. And I know that the torn ACL, the messed up ACL, nobody wanted to take a chance. Possibly that could be it, but I just don't see a difference between the 7th round and the 1st round. And you said you watched him at Cal, and if you watched him at Cal, right, he struggled at Cal. We all hear
he was getting the hell beat out of him at Cal.
Got the hell beat out of him, right? And Tom Brady's main thing that he says he wants in a quarterback is, what does a quarterback do in adversity? Does he transfer schools? Does he stay at schools? And it just so happened Fernando Mendoza was going through adversity in Cal, and he went to an 11-2 team, because a lot of people are saying Mendoza made Indiana, but a lot of people forget last year they were 11-12. I mean,
why did Mendoza go to Indiana?
They were 11-2 team.
That's why he went.
They were big. I mean, well, and Kurt Signetti. I mean, that's
there's actually Kirk Signetti has some to do with it. Mike Shanahan, his offensive coordinator, was another person. I'm saying it. But the key, there was 2 key components to that. One, he already graduated with his degree at Cal, so it was useless for him to stay there. He already had his degree, right? 3.4 GPA and a business finance degree.
Yeah.
He's ready to move on. He did what he had to do at Cal, right? So there was no leg room for him at Cal. Period. He'd already maximized anything he was going to get at Cal. The second component to that is his brother was already in the building at Indiana. Okay. So his brother brings him hey, come here, which, I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's not a bad idea. Your little brother's there. You're better than your little brother. Why not go there and make it a family adventure, type thing? But also to the structure of Indiana, what Signetti put together at Indiana through the structure. Now, mind you, he has mastered the NIL. And he's got that Mark Cuban money to back him up on that shit now. So Indiana is going to be relevant for a long time. Yeah, you know what? Let's get through the chat a little bit here, man. Some of these guys we've been ignoring. We got 11 people. Only got 11 people. You guys got to get out there and share the show, man. First, Jack you off best. Thank you all. Thank you for coming in, man. Love the name. Coco Dabs on your channel over here. A Dusty one of your mods over there. Salute. Thanks for coming in. Navy Vet, one of my guys from several channels that we meet up on. Thanks for coming in. Candy Angel, I guess that's going to be on your channel. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. 401 Skipper, brother, thank you for letting us be a part of this organization and the checks in the mail. And the nation. Trade back. Don't waste the number 1 pick on a QB.
Trade back with
have a plan.
If he's not a number 1 overall pick, and only the Raiders think that, right? Because back to that too, that we're talking about Mendoza, right? I mean, if he is the number 1 pick, when we don't know yet, maybe a bunch of teams do call the Raiders. It's still way early, right? It's an early process. They have other guys they're looking at. You haven't had the combine, haven't had the Senior Bowl. I get all that.
No pro days, none of that stuff. We don't even have a coach.
But if teams are not, at least calling, for Mendoza, isn't that some kind of red flag? Because I can't remember ever in the history there being a number one pick. And even with that, even with teams like Chicago saying, nah, bro, don't even bother calling us. We're not trading Caleb Williams. This is our guy. And it was our guy before, 6 months before the draft started. Everybody knew it. And teams still called. Still called. It was like, hey, but
Was that Chicago's draft pick or
Yeah.
Carolina's draft pick?
that was well, they traded their first draft pick and they got
So
Caleb
so what happened the year before? Carolina and Chicago swapped first round pick,
yeah, and then
in return, Chicago got the first round pick the next year. So
Yeah.
it just so happened that Carolina sucked so bad, Chicago got that pick for Caleb Williams.
And man, wouldn't it be great if the Raiders could do something like that, traded with the Jets or the Cardinals that could be in
Stop!
the same
Stop!
position?
Don't go past the Jets. Don't go past the Jets because Arizona, Cleveland, they don't have anything that we need. The Giants and the Titans already have a quarterback, so they're not going to give up a lot of draft capital to go up to number one because they don't even need a quarterback. They already know the fight is between us, the Jets, and the Cardinals are lukewarm because they still have Kyler Murray.
But
Even though I'm not a big fan of Kyler Murray, he still is their quarterback.
But just because they don't have draft capital to give us, don't mean they don't have anything to give us. They have plenty of talented players on defense and offense. Offensive line, defensive line.
Well,
It's not like Carolina, the Cardinals, it's not like they haven't been in the top 10 every year for the last 15 years since Kurt Warner left, right? So
I know.
they have plenty of top draft picks over there that the Raiders could say, hey, look,
The one that has
third round pick, we drop back a spot, you give us your second and and a player. I'm willing to take that if the player, if it's worth.
Well, it depends on it depends on how many
Junior over there. They got they got some receivers, they got decent running back. We could use another one. There's a lot of ways you could go about that. You could get a first round this year and a first round next year. But if Mendoza's worth that, I don't see anybody beating down the door for this kid. Maybe because of the run. He showed he's got heart. He showed he's willing to do anything for his team.
He's got leadership.
You can't not love that, right? But I'm saying if
that's not coachable, leadership is not coachable.
If you don't have the team around you like he has at Indiana, if you don't have the great coaching staff, right? A lot of people forget that Mike Shanahan, and no relation to the other Shanahans, but Mike Shanahan, his offensive coordinator, has been with Cignetti for the last 3 teams he coached at, almost 8 or 9 years total. The defensive coordinator, the exact same, right? So, all these guys on the Cignetti staff have been with him everywhere he goes. So it's easy for them just to go get a quarterback like Mendoza from Cal, that showed he can run a team, that you could run a system and put him in a system the same way they did with Curtis Rourke. So I'm saying if he doesn't have all that, even if you sit for a year, are the Raiders a system enough already built where you could just plug in a quarterback? I don't think so.
That's
right?
no. That's no.
So is he that type of guy that, if you need somebody to win games or to carry the team on your back, or to make the big drive in the NFL with not a great offensive line, or not the greatest defense, I don't
salute, man.
You could say also I have Caleb Williams, Drake May, right? All these guys that that roam around, that make big plays, also had a lot of turnovers in the playoffs. He's also a guy that doesn't turn the ball over a lot. So you can run the system. And I'm not saying he can't win for the Raiders and he can't be the future. I'm saying, is he worth?
So let me kind of
number one overall. That's my thing.
Let me clarify for you, just so we're on the same page. Is he's labeled as a system quarterback, but it's a pro style system. So if we put the right pro style system in for him, you feel he could be successful. But you got to have the building blocks around him, right? And I 100% agree with that. I 100% agree with that, because it's no quarterback behind what we fucking put out on the field last year is going to have success. Period. The end. So we can go dig up fucking Johnny Unitas and put him in the backfield right now as our quarterback, and we get our ass kicked because that offensive line couldn't stop a nosebleed. So that's obvious. But what my concern is, this is my biggest concern, is we're in a position right now where we can get a quality quarterback that can be a franchise quarterback. Can be. Okay. He has that quality in him. All right. I know you're saying the system, you're comparing him and Curtis Rourke. Curtis Rourke I loved watching him play. Don't get me wrong. I thought he did a great job last year. But there were times towards the end of the game where it became too much for him. And he was trying to make too much. He was trying to do too much when he didn't have to. You know what I'm saying?
He didn't have the defense. Their defense wasn't ranked nowhere near last year. What they were,
right?
Not right. Signetti, it was his first year with Indiana. It was his first year with the team. He was building the team, so they were nowhere near as established, or had a whole nother year of NIL transfers and bringing guys in. Right, that was in their second year, so the team was way better, obviously, because the team they lost to, I do believe last year, wasn't it Ohio State, which they
lost to Ohio State. They got the break speed off them by Ohio State.
So and then they turn around and do the same thing this year, right? With a little bit, more talent, I guess, different quarterbacks and all that. But so, I mean, I'm just saying, like, we did the same thing, and I know people are going to hate this because they think I'm an Aiden O'Connell stan, but we did the same thing with Aiden O'Connell, right? He showed way more progress than a lot of these quarterbacks drafted number one overall, first round, second round, third round. 9 touchdowns, 1 interception his last 6 games, and they put another guy in front of him. They don't give him a chance, right? He goes out there, he shows he can win. Goes out there, shows he can win. Goes out there every time he's called on. He shows he can do enough to win, but they don't win because they don't have a good defense. They don't have a good offense. They didn't have the right weapons around him, and they continuously just didn't build around him. So are there enough people, are the right people in the building to build around him? Like, are you going to put the right pieces? Are you just going to be like, okay, we got this quarterback, let's just bring in
free agency comes before the draft. So
let's bring in a young coach. Let's bring in a young OC, and everybody try to figure it out together. I think that's a horrible move for this young kid. I mean,
well, you have to put in place people that know what the hell they're doing. Obviously, obviously Kurt Cignetti was already dialed in. Comes from that Nick Saban coaching tree. Got a lot of experience. Got a lot of tools in his toolbox, and it helped that kid out tremendously because his progress, his coming out party really was the Illinois game. When they played Illinois, Illinois was ranked number 8 in the country at the time, and they put a stomping on him. And in that game, I saw a kid that was not afraid to cut it loose when he had to. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it wasn't like he was forcing it. He let the game kind of come to him and balance himself out while he was playing that game. And then it just continued. And then when he hit this gauntlet of the last 5 games that he played, and that was a gauntlet, you got to admit, man, what he did going through, Oregon twice, Alabama, Ohio State, Miami, man, you go, okay, take away the athletic part of it and just look at the gut part of it and how he performed, right? And the lights were never too big for him at all. Was never too big. He never panicked, ever.
I see him because their pocket held up, right? But if you look at when the pocket holds up, if you go back and watch, there's a lot, and not too many times, because it's not a lot of times the pocket didn't hold up. They had a solid offensive line. They blocked well. They had a fullback / hybrid tight end that, 200 and whatever he was, 85 pounds. It's like another kind of offensive lineman out there. So, they blocked very well, and he wasn't under pressure a lot. But when he was, you see him, like everybody says, dropping his eyes, not looking downfield, run it looking this way, looking that way, like not knowing where to go in panic
Mhm.
mode, right? And it didn't lead to interceptions, which is great because he's a tough kid. He holds onto the ball.
Mhm.
Great. He doesn't drop the ball. And then, I've seen, like you say, he's not afraid to cut loose. But I've watched it a lot of times over and over again. And when he does cut it loose, I see receivers slowing down to catch the ball. A lot of times people will be like, oh, that's a great throw and catch, right? And
Mhm.
it is, right? If it's a completion and it's a first down, or if it's, 30, 40 yards, people are screaming, right? But most people aren't paying attention. Damn, look how long this receiver, if you would have just put another, yard or two on it, when you were Carson Beck, the end of the game, just another yard or two, and that's a touchdown. The game's over.
Mhm.
Instead, it's an interception. And he don't have the arm strength either. So not having the arm strength, when I see a lot of these balls start to flutter after 35, 40 yards, they lose velocity. And that, if you're running a Rich Gannon type system where you're only throwing the ball 5-10 yard, slants and comeback routes, that's going to work great. But can you do that every game, right? How many games are you not going to be able to do that against defenses in the NFL? That's going to cost your team an L.
Yeah, you got to fit your profile. You got to fit your profiles with the game attack. You said it clearly with Rich Gannon. He fit his profile to the game attack, and how they brought that offense into life. That Sluggo, he perfected the Sluggo seam, and hitting that corner, or hitting the skinny post, and relying on two Hall of Famers on the outside to keep him in the game. His running game was our running game was nasty when he was there.
He had a hog molly offensive line, bro. Everybody was 320, 340.
Yeah, and I think just having said that, I think we've spent a lot of time giving all this credence to all these quarterbacks or legendary quarterbacks and stuff, but you really start to dig it up, and it's like, okay, why do they get all the fucking credit? Because really, in all honesty, it's like you got offensive line, you got receivers, you got all these, it's like, okay, let it be, just if you want to give the coach and the quarterback credit for executing the plays, fine, that's great, but don't give them credit for completing the play and making the plays downfield, because Fernando's not going to block. He's not going to trap block. Okay. And he's not going to run a 7-yard in route, right? He's got to throw the ball. He's got to get the ball to him. And do I think he can get it to him? Absolutely. Because I saw that crossing route in the back of the end zone against Wisconsin. And if you watch the end zone view of it, that ball had some zip on. That was an A ball. That was definitely a fucking A ball.
Those 15 inside 15 yards, I think, I would love to see him go to the combine or, at his pro day to see how hard he really throws the ball. Cause in short distance, he throws the hell out of it and spins the hell out of it. Like he's got a very good arm. I'm just saying, past 25, 30 yards, and, it's the NFL. You don't have to throw 25, 30 yards every play or, at all, really. You can still win like that, right?
Be a point guard. Be a point guard.
Yeah, and
that's all you got to do.
I believe he could do that if they put the teams around him. But here's my pushback on that is, how long does that take, right? How long does that take? Do you draft one now, a quarterback, just because you have the first overall pick, and say it takes 1 year and you have a defense and an offensive line, and great, start, you win a couple more games, whatever, you win some games you're not supposed to win. The nation's happy, everybody's excited. Or do you bring in whoever this coach is, and in 2 years we're going, oh shit. In 3 years we're going, oh shit, it's the same shit. This is not what we expected. And now you're coming up on, do you sign this kid on a contract year like we're about to do with Aiden O'Connell? And was it Aiden O'Connell, or was it just the dumbass people that were in the building that didn't understand that this kid could run a system and make the plays if you would just let him do it, right? Just put it the right offensive line. It doesn't matter Brock Bowers. It didn't matter Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker had his best games, go back and look, of his career with Aiden O'Connell. Not Gino, right? Not not Garner, right? It's Aiden O'Connell. So we had a kid on a rookie deal, and the whole point of drafting a rookie quarterback is so you don't have to trade one and pay him $70 million like they want us to do with Lamar Jackson. The whole point of drafting a rookie quarterback is on a rookie deal for 4 years, so you can build the team around him. You can put all the pieces in place. And the way we've gone and the way it's been structured, and bringing in a young coach and saying it's a rebuild, you don't do that and rebuild for 3 years and then go, okay, damn, we're about to start winning games, but now we got to make a decision. Do we pay this quarterback, $70 million a year and, $100 million signing bonus like they're starting to go up to? Or do you take an Arvell Reese #1 and put a guy next to Max Crosby and build this defense to a top 5 defense where teams are feared and don't want to come to Las Vegas and Allegiant Stadium and play in Las Vegas, right? Because they don't want to play our defense. And you have, Brock Bowers, you have Ashton Genty, you bring in a great offensive coach, defensive coach, whatever. But you put everything on this defense, because if you can stop teams from scoring and just put up enough points to win, right? It don't have to be 30. It don't have to be 35. You don't have to put up 40.
27 is kind of a benchmark to keep you in that success game.
But
24, if you can average 24, but you want to get to that 27 mark.
Yeah, but if you can hold teams to what I'm saying is 17 points or under, right? Like the Raiders have had in the past with Patrick Graham, right? There's been times that for whatever, 9 games, 10 games, that the Raiders have done that. The offense just couldn't keep up. So if you build this defense where it can keep you underneath, and then you can, let whoever, right?
Yeah. So let me get caught up in the chat real quick. Sacktown Raider Mike's in the house. Thank you, brother, for coming in. Ardell, one of my OGs from all the other. I'm not bueno. Thanks for coming in, man. Herbert wasn't asked to do much at Oregon, and look how he turned out. Yeah. I mean, that was another one of those. He was a quote unquote system quarterback. He only ran one style of offense. He's perfectly capable of running a standard West Coast offense, albeit from pistol, not so much from under center. I myself like the traditional West Coast style with a 2-back set, 1 tight end and 2 wideouts. Maybe even break it up into a single back with 3 wideouts like we did, a 2-by-1 set. I mean, and sticking to those precise, quick reads, 2 to 3 reads, and he can do that. Just so you know, he can do that because he does do that. And then Chase Daniels is all 22 that I watched this morning. He was showing how you actually could see through his face mask how he was pulling that safety over and then coming right back behind him and hitting the target. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't see as normal fans, that behind the scenes with the experts. So we got to trust the experts. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Well,
we got to trust. We got to trust. We got to trust the experts. And there's a lot of quarterbacks. There's a lot of
experts are, man. Depends on who those.
There's a bunch of them that are even the outside Raider Nation. There's also a fight over yes or no whether he should be the #1 pick. And I think because we're so desperate this time for a franchise quarterback that it pushes our needs up to that point. But the Jets are in the same position right behind us because the Jets don't sell Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams in the middle of the season if they weren't all in on trying to get a quarterback and start rebuilding their offense.
I think they're fine with waiting until next year. I mean, every team, if you have like any common sense at all, and you're thinking, damn, I could take this.
Yeah, but what happens if we go 6-11 next year
with a brand new coach and Aiden O'Connell? Stop. Like, if everybody hates Aiden O'Connell and he's so bad, why does everybody think that if he starts, we can win?
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
I'm just saying, like, limited. Like if everybody thinks Aiden O'Connell is such a bad quarterback, then why is everybody so not willing to just let the kid start for a season and do whatever if somebody wants Mendoza? Because right now I don't think anybody wants him, and I don't see there's anybody willing to trade unless, like I said before, unless Matthew Stafford wins the Super Bowl and he tells the Rams organization, thank you, it's been great. I'm gonna fly off into the sunset with my Super Bowl trophy, and I'm done. Find your quarterback. And they say, damn, we got 2 first-round picks. Mendoza looks very nice. Hey Raiders.
You want to go all the way back to 8 though? From 1?
What exactly do I mean? 8's not.
You're
bad.
giving up on a lot of quality picks going all the way back to 8.
If you get 2 first-round picks,
it's not quantity, it's quality.
First round is, you can't. You telling me you can't get a top linebacker and a top corner in the first round better than you can get a first overall pick and say a linebacker in the second? Like, you don't think the quality of linebackers in the first round are going to be better than the quality of the second? Are the corners?
No. What I'm saying,
your first round. Like, if you could get 2 cornerstone pieces for your defense, a first overall linebacker and a first overall corner, or a defensive lineman and a linebacker, or 2 linebackers. Hell, we need linebackers. I wouldn't be mad with, I would love to, be able to take say a David Bailey at 6 if he's there, and then maybe what's the other pick? What's the other pick they have? 20 something, 18 something.
Well, if they win the Super Bowl, it'd be 32.
32. Shit, you could take that. You could pick there. You could trade back up. We got 3 4th-round picks. Like, there's a lot of options you can do. There's a lot.
What I'm saying is, once you start going more than 5 picks back, you start passing up on your blue chips that are already on your board.
Yeah, but we don't have.
And then what starts out? Then what happens is, once you get past 5, let's say you trade back 12 slots or 8 slots like this. Now what you've done is you've actually put your draft board you're pushing it up against the wall, hoping that a certain player that you want falls to you at 8. Now he doesn't fall to you at 8. You're reaching 100%. To fill that 8 spot. So you got to be very leery, because most of the time a good draft is quality over quantity.
I get you.
So
but
a team can have 6 draft picks throughout the draft and draft a team that had 12 draft picks. Yeah. Just because the way they were positioned, they didn't panic. They didn't panic and start trying to reach because of certain positions, right? It's kind of like Telesco was perfect at 13. I know Penix was there, but he was thinking Penix would probably fall to him at 13. You thought he would? I thought he was going to fall to 13 as the draft was going. And then when Atlanta took him, I was like, fuck. That just screwed everything up right there. All right. And then when the draft pick came, I'm sitting there with my wife. It was funnier than shit. I'm sitting there with my wife. I'm like, fuck. All right, we do need a tackle. Felice Tuaga, that he's a good lineman. He'll be a constant. He might throw us a couple Pro Bowls in there in his career. He's going to be good. Don't get me wrong. And then when Goodell came out and he said, with the 13th pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Brock Bowers, and I looked at my wife and I go, what the fuck? Right. I didn't even know he fell that far. I thought he was way up front, because I watching him at Georgia. I watched a ton of him at Georgia, and it's like, oh my God. And one of my buddies that we were, I can't believe we took blah, 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 blah. I go, no, he's a dude. And then by the end of his rookie season, I called my buddy. I hadn't talked to him for a while. I called my buddy up and I said, hey, what do you think, Brock Bowers? Oh, he's fucking awesome. All right, click. I hung up on him.
See, and and there you go with that. But like you said, there's blue chip guys, but who's blue chip guys? The consensus,
Reese Downs, Styles,
Mel Kipers, like who's
Mel Kiper? Who the hell's Mel Kiper?
Let me ask you this: like last year, right? A lot of people gave me
Tyler Warren.
A lot of people gave me shit because I said I wanted Nick Eamon-Worry. I thought being 6'4", running a 4.4 40 as a safety fit was a Pete Carroll fit, right? That's a Pete Carroll guy. Like, how could you miss on that dude? Everybody said, "Oh, come on, that's a second round pick. That dude won't be drafted in the first round." The Seattle snags him at what, 18? Who was the best defensive player in the rookie draft?
Right.
It was Nick Eamon-Worry,
Right.
who everybody said was, this guy's going to fall, in the 20s. And another guy, Jahad Campbell. I said, bro, I would take a linebacker at 6 if or wherever, if we could trade back and not pick Ashton Jeanty. If that was the case, if we could have traded back, I would have took Jahad Campbell anywhere from probably 8 on up, and he got picked 32nd. Dude, he was one of the best linebackers in all of football, not just as a rookie. In all the football when he was out there, his numbers were in the 80s. Pass rush, tackling, like everything. One of the best dudes. But a lot of people were going to let this dude fall into the second round. So you know what I'm saying? So you could still get blue chips in the first round just because there's a lot of bad scouting, and people think, this guy is this guy. And then, I mean, shit, look at last year. Carl Schlesinger, or for the linebacker for the Cleveland Browns, fell to the second round. I mean, this kid was one of the best linebackers also in the NFL, not just as a rookie, but as a linebacker.
I wanted Tate Ratledge in the second round, and we kept trading back. And then when the pick was coming, 57, Detroit Lions at 57 takes Tate Ratledge. Well, we're taking Jack Bech at 58.
And I was saying, Gray Zabel is going to be, I had Gray Zabel as, one of my top 3 offensive linemen, just because of his physicality, what he showed, in camp, in the training for the Senior Bowl or whatever he was in, the Shrine Bowl. Like, those dudes, he was physical as hell. He was pushing defensive linemen, around defensive ends that were projected to be first overall picks, and he was pushing these guys around like they were nothing. I was like, bro, Gray Zabel's going to be a dog. And, where did he fall? Into the 20s or something? Like, Seattle, I think, moved back up to get him. So, like, there's a lot of steals in the draft if you have the right scouts, that if you could get 2 of those guys in the first round, it changes your franchise. And I'm not saying Mendoza can't or he won't. I mean, he can with the right guys. I mean, I'm totally fine if you go get a Mike LaFleur, which, has been my number one guy for the last 2 years. If you go get a Mike LaFleur in a Ram system, I think he can put him in a system where after a year, because Tom Brady's not going to let him start the first year. We already know how Tom Brady feels about quarterbacks starting the first year. So, I mean, after the second year, yeah, I think it'll be fine. Clint Kubiak, with what he's done with Sam Darnold, what he was doing with Derek Carr before Derek got hurt with the New Orleans Saints, they were one of the best offenses in the NFL until Carr got hurt, right? They're putting up 380, averaging 380 a game or whatever it was, crazy numbers. So, like, if you're going to bring in one of those guys with a rookie, then, I'm totally down with, I guess, I mean, I don't have a choice. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think, I don't think it's
we're just kids on Chris.
I don't think it's the right pick, but if it's the pick, I think it could possibly work. It could possibly.
Well, I'm going to flip onto I'm going to go over to your side for just a minute, and here's the deal. And I'm hoping this is how SpyTech operates. Number one, don't offer the first pick. You're not going to offer the first pick. You let them come to you.
Oh no!
And when New York calls and says, "Hey, let's swap first round picks. We'll give you Dallas's 2027 pick and this year's third pick." Yeah, thanks for calling, motherfucker. Click. They'll call back. If they want Mendoza, they'll call back. And if you think Reese is going to add more influence to your team than what Fernando Mendoza would, then you take him. I didn't, like last year, I didn't want Jeanty. I watch Boise State. I live on the West Coast. What's there to do at 8:00 at night on the West Coast on a Saturday night during college football season? You watch West Coast football, right? Everybody on the East Coast, they're sleeping while we're watching that shit, But at the same time, waiting is not really. We've been waiting for a while now. You know what I mean? We've been waiting for a while. I truly think when John Gruden stepped in 2018 and he worked with Carr and then went through 29 after 2019 was over, they should have been all in on a quarterback in the draft in 2020. They should have. They should have said, you know what? We love you, Derek, but we got to and let that kid sit behind Derek Carr, who still had time left on his contract. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that kind of make sense a little bit?
Yeah.
So you're replenishing. You're not rebuilding. You're replenishing. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's on the quarterback position. Now let's turn to the running back position. Are we going to rely on Genty to be our mainstay? No, we're going to have to get another running back too. We're going to have to get a wide receiver. We need a wide receiver. You know, we need somebody that could, a wide receiver that can catch 8 to 10 balls a game, and be reliable in pass routes at every position of wide receiver, not just one, but every position. So you have a super chat. You have a super chat up here.
Shout out for the super chat. Appreciate you, Unleashed Raiders. What's good?
A super sticker on there.
Super sticker. What's good? But do we not have one of those guys in Jack Besh? I think we do.
I think there's a lot. There's so much in that kid. There's so much in that kid that I think what we saw this year was just a sample. Just a sample. And some of us OGs remember with Tim Brown. Tim Brown was not a starting wide receiver for 3 years. He sat behind Willie Gault and Mervin Fernandez the first 2 years. Plus, he had his knee injury the second year, so that kind of stifled that season. But when it comes down to when he started to get reps, Tim Brown really didn't blossom until we got Jeff Hostetler. And then Jeff Hostetler kind of uncorked a little bit with him. And then Billy Joe Tolliver, Todd Marinovich, fuck him. He ruined everything. He set this franchise back a ton. And then when I always look at...
And we're trying to do it again. And we're trying to do it again.
If I was a time traveler where I can change time, I would go back to get a Gruden-esque, it wouldn't be Gruden necessarily, but a Gruden-esque West Coast expert offensive coach with Tim Brown and Rich Gannon. Because they only had 2 or 3 years of magic. Could you imagine if they had 7 or 8 years together? What it could have been? It'd have been fucking enormous. I really truly think Tim Brown would have caught Jerry Rice at some point or been right on his heels on a lot of those records, because you got to figure Tim Brown caught 27. He caught touchdown passes from 27 different quarterbacks. Jerry Rice caught touchdown passes from 10 different quarterbacks. It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But we're talking about the past.
And we're trying to, that's what I'm saying. And we're trying to draft a quarterback after we've been on nothing but losing. And we're talking about a rebuild, and, Spytek's like, I don't care, how long it takes. We're going to do this right. We're going to build different, the ground. That's cool. I mean, draft them, let them sit. If you're telling me that we're going to be competitive and not even competitive, but at least, better than we are, right? Somewhere 7-8 games, or, don't get blown out. I'm down with any of that. Something, give us something, something. But you can't lose 0-31 twice. You can't get blown out.
It's how we lost. It's not the fact that we lost.
Not in 7 or 8 games, and that's not even counting the 2 that were completely blowouts. so
well, we had a ton of blowouts. Really, I mean, the Colts game we got blowed out. The Redskins games we got fucking trucked in that game too. But the Eagles game and the Chiefs game, those games were over at kickoff. It was like done. That's embarrassing. That was flat out fucking embarrassing, those 2 games. But anyways, so you kind of gave, like is Mendoza the guy right at this point? At right now, what I see and what I've seen is, and I'm taking it because if you look at where he was at Cal to the first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, the way he ended the season and how he was playing, is what is his ceiling? Nobody fucking knows.
I think he's at it.
I can read 30 fucking people up here that are experts, and they're going, the some of them are like, there's actually some untapped talent because he's athletic. He looks goofy, doesn't he? Doesn't he look goofy in a uniform? He looks like that kid that comes up to your front door on Halloween with a fucking one of those cheap ass football uniforms. Hello, trick or treat. That's what he looks like out on the field. I give you that. He looks a little goofy, but believe it or not, he runs a 4.8 40. That's pretty fast for a quarterback.
I mean, it's definitely faster than Brady.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely faster. And there's a couple that, like, for example, I noticed when I watch him, his C is down, right? So when you talk about, you're talking about the nose of the ball, right? The nose of the ball coming out through your C, right? So you got your C like this, right? And you got your spread up on the threads, right? On the laces. His C is cocked a little bit too far out, right? And that's what, when he throws an A ball, either at 45 or straight through, it has a tendency to rise because that lazy C, that when you turn it like this, the front of the ball has a tendency to already be pointing upward. So he's got to correct that. That was something that Peyton Manning was real good at. If you ever saw Peyton Manning, sometimes if he knew which ball he was going to throw, you can actually see him go from this to throw the ball. And that means he's getting that down. Now, when they played, it was Alabama, and he threw that quick hit on a 2x1 set. They had the slot it's like a naked screen to the slot receiver. And he comes in a short motion, and as soon as the ball snapped, he threw it, and he throws it. The idea is to throw it between the thighs and the shins to make the receiver go down and get it and then roll into the end zone because they were on the 2-yard line. That's the only time I've ever seen him where he got the ball and he went just like this to throw the ball.
Did you watch him on the Jimmy Kimmel or whatever he was on last night?
Oh, trying to break the records. That was more Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon. It's like a record's going over.
But man, he's just throwing the record in the air, and he's waiting. You should be trying to hit it when it's going up, not wait until it's coming down. Every one of those throws were straight to the ground. There was one throw. The first one was straight, and he hit it. But then the rest of them, he was hitting the targets as they were coming to the ground. Like that angle, he was letting. I don't know what he was doing trying to hit.
There's two different variances. I don't know if have you ever shot clay pigeons before?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're trying
to.
So
some people shoot them on ascension. They'll pull.
They get until they fall, but you're not. But you're trying to shoot it like nobody's waiting till it's on the ground. So they're aiming like this to try to hit.
The apex.
He's aiming at him at the ground. Like he was completely throwing at like the last.
So like a good clay pigeon shooter can actually hit at below the apex. So the apex is the highest point to when it starts to descend, right? So your pull. You wait. You already know where the apex is going to be based on the trajectory and how fast it's going, and then as it starts to come down, then you hit that. Yeah, that's it. That's the more accurate way to do it.
It's already fallen. Like that's it. He was waiting way too long to throw.
That was just a gimmick game. I
was like, come on, man. Like
when you saw Jimmy Fallon and fucking records are going over the top of him, and and he's like throwing, I'm like, yeah, that's all for fun and game. That has no bearing on his athletic ability, none whatsoever.
Yeah, but also I was saying, like earlier, is when you're watching film on him. I mean, a lot of the throws, and you could say probably a good 85% of them, the receivers are jumping. The receivers are picking it off the turf. They're not too many balls that are in their chest, right?
There's a bunch out there.
There's if you're looking at his highlights, if you're looking if you watch the whole entire game, from what I've seen, and you could have seen different.
So if you go to if you watch that Penn State final drive, There's
Yeah.
a couple that he threw a little bit high, but there was a couple that he darted, and that's because that's where his window was.
That's
right.
that's where I was getting to.
And so
When he's throwing the shit out of the ball when it's a dart, it's on target. But when he has to put touch on it, when he has to throw it over the shoulder, when he has to put it on those back shoulder ones where he's got to put just a little bit of air on it because he's throwing the ball before the guy's turning around, the guys are they're reaching, they're jumping, right? They're not as accurate as they make it make him seem. And
and so you saw the Ohio State game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the 35-yard fade he hit to seal the deal. He dropped that right in the bucket.
But you also seen the what was it, the game before that where they won with the catch where Omar Cooper Jr. caught the ball in the back of the end zone at the last second on that drive. Also, that drive
against Penn State, right?
Yeah, that ball was that drive was a bunch of run plays where they just ran it. They didn't let him throw, just like the last drive in the championship. What he threw two times on that drive, they ran the ball almost the rest. They leaned on the hogs up front, they leaned on their running backs, and they just like they did in a lot of
on
games.
That final drive.
Which is why his stats are low, which is why the numbers are low, because they don't lean on him. And even in the big situations, they run the hell out of the ball. Yes, on the final drive, he had the back shoulder throw. He had the pass out of the backfield to the
tight end curl for 15 yards.
And the tight end curl. And
so on the touchdown
on that drive, so it was
an amazing catch. Got his toes in, right? Amazing catch.
Amazing catch.
So we're not going to give Mendoza any credit for that. It's all on the receiver.
No, I'm saying that he had to jump out of the building. Did you see how high he jumped to catch that ball? Like that.
Yeah.
That was a guy wide open in front of you, and all you got to do is put it on his numbers, and he threw it high.
What was happening in the backfield?
There wasn't that much pressure on that.
The hell it wasn't.
It was coming, but it's a timing throw.
He had to. This is why if you watch the play. If you watch the play, you will see he's anticipating he's going to get hit. He drops his hips and rocks back, knowing he's going to get hit, and releases the ball. There's two defenders getting ready to fucking take his lunch money from him.
I'm saying, I thought, from what I've seen, is he had time to release that ball before he got hit. And like you said, knew he was going to get hit, fell back into it. And, I mean, still,
So... You're familiar with one of the greatest catches of all times in the NFL, right?
You see the great ones make those falling catches all the time. I mean, Caleb Williams in the playoffs ran 15-yard backwards and made over the shoulder, dropped
a lollipop over two defenders,
right in the corner of the end zone. So I mean, that's spectacular. You like that, huh? And those don't happen every time.
Well, I could tell you this: those kind of throws, they're only going to last so long. Eventually, you got to do it. You got to play within the confines of the game.
But when you're that good, do they only last so long? Because I've seen them do it over and over and over again when they need him to. And Cam Fernando make those plays when you need him to.
But does he have to?
You might. You might for a long time.
No, he can't. He can roll out and throw. He can roll to the left and throw a dart and get a first down. He's done it.
Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen him move the pocket. I've seen him throw on the run. I've seen a lot of RPOs and a lot of RPOs and a lot of RPOs, right? And a lot of nothing.
But before we get too far off the subject, you're familiar with one of the greatest catches of all time in the NFL, right?
Which one?
It's called the catch.
The catch.
Joe Montana to Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
Okay. If Dwight Clark drops that pass, is Joe Montana considered a legend?
Probably still, yeah.
But that's the statue that's in front of Levi Stadium.
But that's called the catch for a reason.
Okay,
it's called the catch for a reason.
I mean, there comes a point in time you got to put the ball where only your guy can catch it.
the sea of hands, right? That's why I'm like, which catch? There's a lot of them.
There comes a point in time you have to put the ball where only your guy can catch it, and it's not an alley oop, it's not a Hail Mary, it's a legitimate pass.
And
For all we know, that was a design in the play, that probably in the huddle, just like with the catch, they practiced that. They actually practiced that play, right? So for all we know, that catch against Penn State and that down in distance in that situation, it could have been, hey, I'm throwing it at the crossbar, go catch it, right? For all we know, that could have been their plan to get it to that point. They were squeezed a little bit on the end zone. It was a little too close for comfort, but it was a good catch. I don't know if
that was the call in the playbook or practice throw it at the crossbar, but I mean, yeah, the guy was open. You throw it to the middle of the field, you hit him. It was a catch. It was a hell of a play. But if he would have thrown it just a second earlier, right? Like I was saying, he had time in the pocket. If he would have thrown it just a second earlier, it wouldn't have been, the guy would have called it way closer inbounds, right? If he didn't, throw it last second and throw it a little high where it was almost, and it almost doesn't count only in grab ass and horseshoes. I understand, but I'm saying he's made some damn good throws, but a lot of those throws that are damn good throws are damn good catches on the other side from damn good receivers that are underrated. Because we hear all this talk about, Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase and, he had
Justin
Jefferson, right? And he had
Brian Thomas.
Who else was over there? Like
Jack Besh.
Good Lord. How long was he been in college?
Well, Jack Besh's first 2 years was at LSU, and then when Orgeron got fired, he left and went to TCU.
But and you look at the same thing, right? You could say the same thing with Jaden Daniels. I mean, like he had Brian Thomas Jr.
You say the same thing about Mahomes.
Malik Neighbors.
But it just means Mahomes does it every fucking game.
All these great guys that won the Heisman or, put up these numbers had elite receivers, not just good or great receivers, like elite. And I think, Elijah Surratt, just because he doesn't run a 4.3 or 4.4, is a, highly underrated receiver, in my opinion.
He is.
Omar Cooper. I think Jack.
I like Cooper better.
I think the Charlie Becker, right? Even the other guy, Williams Jr. Like all those guys, they don't get enough love for the for the routes they run, the timing routes they run, precision, because all that stuff is in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn, right? 6 steps, turn. The ball's gonna be there because if you watch it. Every one of those routes, the ball is out before the guy even starts to turn. He's not even thinking. He's not looking back. He just knows.
Anticipatory throws.
And trust. And how long is it going to take before you develop that trust with guys in the NFL?
That's just it. You got to build that. You got to build that cohesion.
And is it a year? Is it 2 years? Like so. I mean, I'm not saying this kid doesn't have the talent to be an NFL quarterback. But I know, looking at the past and the Heisman Trophy winners, and you can't just compare that, but his character is different, right? He's not one of those guys that's going to be out partying, that's going to be out doing stupid shit. He's going to be in a playbook, says he's never had a girlfriend. That's kind of scary going to Vegas with with a strip club on every corner, and that's going to be wild. But
I got James Purpo in the house. I got to hook him up.
Raiders.
Yeah.
My guy in the building was good.
Sacktown, Mike. Hey, Sacktown, you're in the chat. Did you get that video I sent you? It was the Chase Daniels all 22 end zone and side shot of what we were talking about. So he explains it perfectly clear.
I watched that breakdown where he was, showing them hold the ball in the RPOs, throwing it, just in the window, and and that's just what I'm saying. Like all those players, all those passes are timing passes where This guy's been, the offensive coordinator's been running this same system for 7, 8 years with Stignetti. The defense has been running the same system at every school they've been at, and it's all timing routes. Like everything's timed, everything's precision. They're all quick, and yes, he gets the ball out fast. Yes, he throws the hell out of the ball. I just want him to see, we don't know. We don't know if he can make all those throws. Yes, he's done it a couple times against teams like Penn State. I mean, come on. How great was Penn State this year?
Oregon,
like,
Ohio State.
Oregon was good.
Alabama.
Ohio State was good. But you look at that game too. Their special teams, their defense gave them the ball. I mean, in great field position.
Not the first Oregon game. The second Oregon game, I'll take that. The first Oregon game actually was. He actually gave them a pick 6 in that game. And he rebounded from it, unlike what Geno fucking does, right? He rebounded from that and fought right back through it and stayed time on task with his offense. And he was there's some things about him that are not coachable, they're characteristics that he has that aren't coachable, that are just going to parlay into the NFL and make him that much better. And it's going to take, but we can talk about Mendoza till we're blue in the face. Oh, yeah. It ain't gonna fucking matter if we don't get the right coach in there anyways.
Exactly.
Right?
Or at least somebody to protect them, or somebody could coach the guys to protect them. I don't mind the guys protecting them right now. If somebody just could come in there with
I can't tell you this. You can mark my word, Mr. 401 Raider Jeff. I'm pounding the table for Mendoza. But if they do not address in free agency properly, how to get some pieces around him to make him better in free agency before we go into the draft, then no, don't draft him. Don't draft him. Don't. You're gonna be spinning your wheels in mud doing that. Okay, but I already know. Spytek's already said it. That they're probably going to have to overpay for some people in free agency to get them in here, right? And it's going to depend on what kind of coaches we get. How is our organization sitting right now? Because you got to realize a lot of these players that are in the NFL right now that are going to be free agents, they've already seen the fucking turnstile that we have for coaches and GMs and players and signing all these 1-year players and whatnot. And, guys that want a 4-year contract don't want to go play on a team that's loaded with a bunch of 1-year contracts because they already know this guy ain't going to be there next year. What the hell kind of chemistry are we going to develop? I'm going to go to Pittsburgh where they've got their whole secondary and half their defensive line under contract for the next 2 or 3 years. I'm going to go play linebacker there, or I'm going to go here where they got more solidified contracts, more solidified coaching staff and front office. That's where I'm going to go. I ain't going to Las Vegas. For what? So what if they don't have state income tax? I don't give a shit. After $5 million, taxes don't mean anything anyways. So that being said, I mean, I'm not playing what ifs. I'm pounding the table for Mendoza because it's just a lot of things that I've seen and his progression and where he has come from and how and what he did to win a national. I'm going to emphasize help win a national championship. Those are things that characteristics. It's like, damn, that's what we need. That's what we need. Now, I would love to have somebody like Josh Allen, but Josh Allen's going home. He's not playing. He just lost. Why was that? You know what I mean? Yeah. I can tell you why McDermott got fired and Joe Brady got fired. They took the ball out of Cook's hand. Had they kept running the ball and then run the ball and utilize Josh Allen's passing attack with this, because Buffalo has 2 really good tight ends. I'm not going to say either one of them are better than Bowers, but the other 2 are pretty fucking good. So he has some weapons and with Cook as the running back. And Cook, he had 70 yards in the first quarter. He was eating. Why did okay, he put the ball on the ground. Go sit for 4 plays. You put the ball on the ground. All right. Now get your ass back out there and run the ball some more. Don't give up. I'm sitting there watching the game. Oh my God, you guys are up by 7 points. The score's getting out of hand. You better start throwing the ball. What they start doing? Throwing the ball. 2 or 3 incomplete passes helps the other team in time and scoring. So they're going to catch up. If you keep throwing incomplete passes or not getting first downs while you're trying to throw the ball, then it's going to come back and haunt you. I believe last year when they played Kansas City, they were up by 2 scores in the last 5 minutes. It's like, fuck, run the ball. Why are you doing throwing? Run the ball. No. Oh, well, that's why you're fucking going home now.
Yeah.
So
that's how it works in the NFL.
Yeah. At no time.
I think the whole firing was ridiculous. I think they have a lot of.
I knew they were going to fire him if they didn't win. I knew they were going to fire him if they didn't win. In fact, you can go back to we were in our watch live party. I even said that they don't win this game. He's probably going to get fired this week.
So I posted
one of the guys in the chat goes, maybe next week. And I go, nah, it'll probably be Monday. He'll get fired. They lose this game because it's all on the play. The play calling was horrendous. Granted, their defense wasn't helping them. The defense at times was holding their end of the bargain, and at times they just were like, you guys are making Drake May look like a Hall of Famer way too soon. Or I mean, not Drake May. Him and Dick Sucker. I get them confused because neither one of them are on our team.
Right.
I would have loved to get Drake May. Bo Nix, nah, I'll pass. Fernando's better than Michael Penix, who also played at Indiana.
But look at Drake May when he came in. What he played the last 4 games of his rookie year.
That's why I was saying don't sleep on Cam Ward.
The last 4 years of his rookie year he played, but he sat the whole entire year, was the backup, got to learn the system, and he didn't do great those last couple games. I think he played well in one, but he didn't look great until they went and got an offensive line. They went and got another running back. They went and got a receiver, right?
He was the 3rd pick in the draft, right?
Yeah, but he didn't look that great, and he sat almost the whole entire season before he got to play.
Yep. But also, too, Mahomes is the same way. He sat behind Alex Smith all the way to the end of the season, his rookie year. I mean, Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years. Jordan Love sat for 3 years. I myself think that's even if we draft him first and we have to sit him, at least have a plan, right? Have a plan. So I'm going to say this, and I might get laughed at. I might get yelled at. I might be told you're fucking stupid. I don't care. But I really think if we go and get Clint Kubiak as our coach, right, which is a possibility, I think we get on the phone with the San Francisco 49ers and offer at least a 3rd-round pick for Mac Jones. Because I think Mac Jones, coupled with Clint Kubiak, could be dangerous. And then you let Mendoza sit behind Mac Jones for 2 years.
So we draft a guy, number 1 pick overall, and we waste 2 years of his rookie contract and hope the 3rd year.
It's not wasting it.
But listen, it is if we put him in the 3rd year and he's still not the guy we thought he was, that we picked first overall, the most prestigious pick that there's 8 teams have never even had the first overall pick in the NFL. And you take a chance of getting a Mac Jones, and
so we're stuck on the first pick, right?
That possibly could come in. What if Mac Jones could, continue to just play well? Then you don't ever get to see what Mendoza has, or at a point you just say, well, damn, this dude's playing good, but let's see what Mendoza has, because what if Mac Jones comes in and plays his ass off with Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty and Jacoby Myers. I mean, not Jacoby
Mhm.
Myers, but Michael Mayer. Like, he's got weapons. He's got weapons more than he had in San Francisco. A lot of those guys were hurt. Jennings was hurt most of the year. So, he had a lot of injuries over there. What if this dude just comes in and plays his ass off? And they're like, okay, so now what do we do with this first overall pick when we could have possibly traded and got, who knows, a first this year and a first next year, and or maybe two first rounds this year and a second next year, or two first this year and a player, like, and then what?
What if nobody wants to trade up to the number one?
That's if nobody wants to trade up, then you draft him. If that's your guy, if the Raiders feel, and I know they're going to do their due diligence and their homework, if they feel after everything that that's their guy, then I mean, they know way more than I do. Obviously, I'm sitting, here behind the desk playing
Yeah, exactly.
couch GM, and they don't give
Yeah.
a fuck what I got. Excuse my language, but they don't give a shit what I got to say or what I think.
No.
So,
And that's fine. But we're entitled to our opinion as fans. So,
but I feel like there's just we're in a position bringing in a new head coach, and more than likely, which way more than probably likely, it's going to be a first time head coach, a guy that's called plays as an OC, but it's starting to lean like a guy that maybe he's never even called plays at all. Is 30 years old and has only been a quarterback coach and a passing game coordinator. Leaning that way. That's a huge gamble for a franchise that has been terrible drafting, that has been terrible picking coaches, that has been just horrible all around as a franchise as a whole for the last 25, 30 years. Are we in a position to really take that big of a swing and, on a new coach, a new quarterback, first overall pick, when we know we have holes, when we know that there are possibilities of, like you said, going and getting a Mac Jones for, a year. And if he plays well, great. If he doesn't, great. If he doesn't play well, then we're in, if he comes to be Geno Smith, we're in the same position we are this year. Not maybe number one, but in the top 10, there's a lot of quarterbacks possibly coming out. Some of them have to come out. The kid from Duke, that dude had a way better year than Mendoza. Now, I know the competition was different, but if you're telling me you couldn't put what is it, the Shore, whatever his name is, if you couldn't put that kid in an Indiana system and then look way better, I mean, that kid on an okay Duke team, right, played his ass off. But there are so many quarterbacks. One that Tom Brady himself said, there is only one quarterback in college football I've seen in the last couple of years that reminds me of a Joe Burrow type, and that is CJ Carr. That's coming out next year. So, another thing, if you're the Raiders and you're taking Mendoza and you already know you're taking Mendoza, what's the point of bringing Mark Davis, Tom Brady, and John Spytek to show up at the national championship game, to be on the sidelines so you're in the camera with Tom Brady wearing a Raiders shirt? Are they trying to pump up Mendoza and be like, oh, damn, man, this is really the guy? Like, why would Tom Brady go out of his way? And he didn't have to answer the question like he did and say CJ Carr is the best quarterback he's seen in college football since Joe Burrow. And if you have the opportunity to get him next year, or maybe even a year after that, I mean, we're not going to be great. We're not going to be great. There's no way we win, with a new coach, new system, new everything, maybe without Max Crosby, who might or might not want to be here anymore. Like, there's a lot of shit that could go on this year. We could end up just like the Chicago Bears did, trade the number one pick to say the Jets or the Cardinals, and maybe one of those teams who are one's going to have a new coach, one might not have a new coach. The Jets, it's still the dude might even step down. They can't get nobody to be offensive coordinator over there. They have problems. So, You know, if
Yeah,
you
that's
traded one of
that
those
scenario of
teams,
trading back.
there's a
The
big
Jets
chance
would
you're
be
going to be in the same position next year.
trading back. The Jets would be the most opportune because they have so much of the draft capital right now built into them, and they're the second pick, so we're only moving back one pick, right? So my theory is you give us your 2 and your 16 and your number 1 next year. We want your number 1, not the ones you acquired. We want yours, and then give
Yeah,
us a third, or even give us your second pick, your first, the number 2 pick. Give us number 33, your third round pick this year, your number 1 next year, and Garrett Wilson. That's the exact same trade that Chicago made with Carolina for Carolina to go get Bryce Young, and then the Bears turned around the next year and got Caleb Williams.
yeah. But like I just
But
said with the Raiders, are the Jets in that position when they have 5 first-round picks this year, 2 this year, 3 next year, I do believe.
mm-hmm.
Are they in that position where they think Mendoza is going to be the savior with a coach that can't even get anybody to come in and be an offensive coordinator to give up that much capital when they're looking at next year's quarterbacks and saying, damn, I could have Arch Manning, I could have CJ Carr, I could have, Lenora Sellers, I could have Dante Moore, there's good Lord, the list just goes on and on and on and on
Yeah.
of quarterbacks.
The cool thing about having the number 1.
Why would you risk all those draft capitals to move up one spot? Like
The cool thing about the number 1 pick,
the Jets are, that would be just suicide.
the cool thing about having the number 1 pick is we have so many fucking options. So many options. But the trade back
every other year we would have options if there was other quarter. I didn't mean to cut you off, but if there was other quarterbacks. But this year, there's nobody that's standing out saying, "Man, I gotta have this guy on my team, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get him."
Which also puts those other quarterback desperate teams in a position to. It's like, hey, because what's the chances of you being in a position to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks next year? You can run into the same scenario with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Those 2 picks, Caleb Williams and Jaden McDaniels, when they were 1 and 2 in the draft, nobody was going to nobody in the world had enough fucking trade up to get them. Nobody. No, it was, and I'm pretty sure Washington said, "Fuck you, he's not for sale. He's our pick."
Look, you have,
and that could happen again next year and it's not so much that next year's quarterbacks are better coming out. It's just there's more of them.
Well, yeah. Let me read you this list. You have Julian Sayin, Ohio State; Dante Moore, Oregon; Arch Manning, Texas. You have Jaden Maivia, South Carolina; Lenora Sellers, who, I like him. That kid has all kinds of talent in the world.
He's on a shitty team.
Levitt or whatever. Didn't he go to Texas Tech or one of those,
Who's that?
Those cool, Sam Levitt, Arizona.
Oh, from Arizona State? I think he went to Texas Tech.
Yeah, so I said, like, Texas Tech, that, always a damn good school. John Mateer, he's returning. Like, Brandon Sorsby, which I think is going to be, a top 10 pick if he continues to play like he did last year. And now he's transferred, I do believe. He's
don't buy into the Arch Manning, guys. Don't buy into that.
So he's at Texas Tech. DJ Lagway, 6'3", 247, a kid that, I really liked 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. But Florida's been horrible, and it hasn't been DJ Lagway's fault. It's been their defense, their offensive line, their running game, their receivers. Like, Florida's just been, up and down, and obviously something wrong with the coaching staff over there. But, DJ Lagway is another guy that has all kinds of upside. You have Nico Lamavia, and then you have Darian Menshaw. That's the dude I was talking about. I really like Menshaw. This dude has, has the brain, has the size, has the speed, 6'3", 205, probably got to gain some more weight, not the fastest, not, I think he runs like 4.6 or 7s or something, but another kid that
This is
was tall,
Bueno.
that's good.
I'm
in
not
training.
Bueno has a good point here in the chat, Rebel. Let's not keep trying to get a quarterback. So Bowers will definitely not want out of Vegas before. There's two sides to that. One, he's only going into his third year, so we have 5 years on him guaranteed. Plus, we can add a 6 if we franchise tag him, which that's what he's going to get paid anyways, is the franchise tag, because ultimately he's going to be the top tight. It's going to be between him and Tyler Warren and Loveland at that point, who the best tight end is, because Kelsey and Kittle are starting to fall back. Knox and Kincaid are starting to fall back a little bit. Sadiq coming out of Oregon this year, he's going to be a really good tight end. So that's going to probably push the market a little bit more to pay a high-end tight end. And right now, he is our guy, is Bowers. He's the dude. We just got to get a couple more dudes to help him out. And
we hope. We don't know what that injury was, how bad it was. Like,
was Sadiq
out the knee? Like, we have no idea. Like,
with who? With who?
Brock Bowers, the severity of the knee injury. They,
I believe that was the same.
He was hurt.
It was a meniscus.
Played a couple games, then missed a bunch of games, then said he was back, and then they took him out at the end of the season because he still wasn't healthy. No talk about surgery or any shit like that. So what's going on with with his thing right now?
Yeah, I wonder if that was just a strategic removal versus a necessary removal. Let's see, and let's talk about Chambliss for a second. I saw this kid against Mississippi State this year, and what he did. I mean, he stole that starting position from Simmons, because he was the backup coming in at the start of the year. The primary went down in the middle of the second game, and he came in, threw a couple touchdowns, looked really good. But with him, he kept going like this as the season went on, kept getting better and better and better. And then when they played Georgia in the fourth quarter during the regular season, and that was the game that would decide who would go on to the SEC championship with Georgia, and he just went in the fourth quarter. I was like, man, I had so much hope for him because he at the beginning of that game, he was spot on. The flow was good with them. The play calling was good. Receivers were getting open. He was making the throws that he needed to make. And then one of the things that he did when he got into the college football playoffs was he just kept fighting and making plays. And then in that second game against Georgia, when he went 13 of 13 for 161 yards and 3 touchdowns in the third and start of fourth quarter, midway through the fourth quarter, the second half, his stats were 13 of 13, 161 yards and 3 touchdowns. Here's a knock on him. They say he's 6'1". I watched him play. When they said he was 6'1", I go, there's no way that kid's 6'1". He just plays. He looks bigger until you see him getting huddled, and you go, okay, yeah, he's 6'1". Now you can compensate. You can compensate for somebody that's 6'1". It's not that hard because 6'1" really isn't too short, and he didn't look. Sometimes they fudge their numbers. Oh, he's 6'1", and you go, dude, he's 5'10". He's 5'11". He's a midget. No, he's a solid 6'1", and he's built too. Really good head on his shoulder. I know he wants to go back for another year because of his projections. His projections is second round, and but I at 36 with an extra pick at 16 wouldn't hesitate to maybe try him. If we trade back with the Jets, like a lot of people are saying, and we get Reese, or my preference, and I know he's a safety, but he's a dude, and he's a turnkey pro right now, is Caleb Downs. He's turnkey pro right now. You could throw him. He will be an all-pro day one.
If they took a second overall, they would be cooked.
Here's the deal.
There's a lot of safeties in this draft. You could get, third.
But he's Caleb.
Yes, he's great. I would take him, after 10, but inside the top 10,
I
taking a
would take it
safety
inside the top 10.
would be crazy. That's just like the Genty pick where you pretty
Well,
much you just
oh,
don't. But taking him two, that would be. I mean, I would too, but it's just
I want to get I want to get a Raider jersey with my last name on it.
the safeties are so much easier to come by than quarterbacks. You know what I mean?
Hey,
defensive
Rebel.
players,
I want a Raider jersey with my last name on the back.
like, Downs.
That's what oh, you just like him. No, well, I do, but when I watched him play at Alabama and how athletic he was and how much he can just literally take 1/3 of the field away over the middle and even on the outside on the out routes when he pops out and covers the slot, it's like he's money, man. And then he comes downhill and makes tackles like it's no tomorrow.
Can,
you know?
Can I pitch my Chambliss pitch?
Yep.
Tom Brady said he wants a guy that what do you do when you get smacked in the mouth? What do you do when you have 3 turnovers? What do you do when you throw for 3 interceptions? Who are you after that, right?
Yep.
I think all year long, Trinidad Chambliss showed who he was.
Yep.
Whether it was turnovers, not the greatest defense as it was, adversity. Nobody had more adversity than Trinidad Chambliss. He wasn't the starter. He earned the job because somebody got hurt. He came in and played his ass off. I do believe it was against my Arkansas Razorbacks, and he ended up having 5 touchdowns in that game, 2 passing, 3 rushing, and put his name on the map. And then Tom Brady says, he wants somebody who sticks through adversity. What happens when everything doesn't go right? When your team's losing and you're doing all the right things, but you're still losing games. Well, what did Trinidad Chambliss do when you make it to the playoffs and your head coach walks away in the middle of a season and takes a job at LSU? This kid comes out, plays his ass off, and almost wins that game. If it wasn't for a bullshit non-pass interference call, they're in the championship instead of Miami. So I think Trinidad Chambliss, if you're asking me, has way more upside than Fernando Mendoza. If you're talking about somebody, I think Money Chuck said, who now or previous puts the ball in better positions than Fernando Mendoza. I've seen a lot. And Trinidad Chambliss makes some crazy throws, kind of like the Caleb Williams style that you're just like, how in the hell did he make that throw? I mean, even the game against Miami, right? He's running backwards 25, whatever it was, 15, 20 yards, throws the ball, 50 yards downfield. Like the kid's talent, his athleticism, and the fact that he has everything that Tom Brady wants, except for the fact that Tom Brady doesn't like, guys that are mobile, that take off and run because it, lessens their life cycle as an NFL player, which we all agree with that. But look at Mendoza diving headfirst into shit, right? So, the fact that he checks all the boxes for Tom Brady, and the fact that if you're going to let somebody sit for a year, no matter what, because Tom Brady says, that's his belief. A guy, no matter who they are, where they're drafted, what their name is, what they did in college, they should sit for a year and learn the NFL. And if that's, it's the case and Tom Brady sticks to his guns, I would much rather have Trinidad Chambliss sit and learn for a year. If I could, you're telling me I could get this kid, and I know his stock's going to go way up, but, if you could get him in the late second or the third, or, if he falls more than that, but more than likely it'll probably be late first round, early second round. But if you're telling me that I could trade back, and it doesn't have to be, second or third overall pick, I'd be perfectly fine trading back with Dallas at 8 and 18 or 20 or 24, whatever they're at.
Well, at 16, if we trade with the Jets, we get 2 and 16. So
and
we're playing with house money at that point because we got extra picks. It's like you could throw an extra pick at something that could be a gamble.
And if they believe Mendoza's that guy and they're willing to give up, 2 first-round picks to move up 1 spot, which would be the craziest trade in NFL history, in my opinion, then of course we take that. Like, how could you not take that? But more than likely, it's going to be a team like the Browns who have 6-24. You know, who depending on who their new head coach is, he might come in and say Shador's not my style. You know, let's make this kid a backup or see if we can move him or trade him before the draft. But I really like this Mendoza kid, and if you want me to win and take this job for the Browns, which a lot of a lot of people have been turning down. So maybe that's the selling point that whoever comes in, maybe it's a Mike LaFleur, maybe it's, Clint Kubiak that says, damn, there's a lot of weapons right here, in Cleveland. They got draft capital. They got one of the greatest players in the history of the NFL on defense, right? You got a lot of good things over there. You got a good running back. You got a two good young tight ends. You got okay money, and your defense is already top 10 in the NFL. So
Yeah.
somebody goes over there and says, "Damn, I'll take this job, but you have to get me the number one pick." And maybe the Browns are like desperate and say, "Okay, like let's do it. Let's trade, number 6 and 24 or whatever it is." I'm totally down with that, man. You could get your Caleb Downs at 6. I'm sure he's going to be there. You could probably get Fano, as a tackle there. You could more than likely get a David Bailey. You can more than likely, you can get a receiver there. You can get probably, Peter Woods there. You could take your pick of a lot of great players and then still have the opportunity to get another great player in the first round. And get your quarterback that has way more upside in future, that can do, spectacular things.
It's just Chambliss is a wild card right now because of the lawsuit that's going on and whether or not he's going to get that extra year of eligibility. I like Chambliss. Don't get me wrong. I think the world of that kid, man. I'm not a big fan of the running backwards 25 yards because that could come back to bite you in the ass doing that a lot of times. But also at the same time, he's able to break contain and get upfield too. So I think most of it was he wanted to make in those situations, he was like, I'm going to try and buy time to get the ball downfield a little bit better than try to get the ball down the field. You know what I mean? So that's we don't know what he was thinking, but you can kind of picture when you watch the play and how it develops, especially from the backside. When you watch it develop, it's like, okay, I can understand why. Is because
he seen the guy was breaking and it was coming up and coming open across the field, and he knew that if he just bought him enough time, that guy was coming open, and you take that chance. It could have turned out good, it could have turned out horrible, but I like players that are willing to take that chance. To me, it just seemed like Mendoza's like a robot. Like this is how we do it, and you do it so many times that it becomes over and over again.
Shout out to the 16, 17 people up in here. I don't know how you got on your side, but shout out. Thanks for joining us tonight on a Friday night, kind of an impromptu Raider Nation Show Me Your Shield. I'm running solo tonight. My partner Dunkin' Donuts isn't here, but I have Raider Rebel that we've a while back I had told him that I was going to start my own show. Maybe we need to collaborate sometime. He said, yeah, for sure. So good time now. Just kind of get the juices flowing a little bit. I know there's a lot of dissension right now, but what we all need to do as a Raider Nation is just fucking chill, right? Just chill out, relax, let the process develop, because we're so new into this off season to where the regular season hasn't even ended for the rest of the NFL, right? So there's still a lot of moving pieces. Obviously you had McDermott got fired on Monday, so that makes a complex situation in and of itself. We don't know if any of our targeted, quote unquote, targeted head coaches might see that as a better opportunity and say thanks, but no thanks, but I'm taking my talents elsewhere. I hope that's not the case, but what we have to do as Raider Nation is just because we're Raider Nation, we're in Vegas, we have the brand. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're the most opportune job for a head coach or the most opportune position for a free agent, because there are some free agents that might look at us and say, yeah, I might give up $3 or $4 million here, but I could go there and win a championship. I'm still going to make a buttload of money.
Right.
So don't be pissed off when that happens, because it's just where we are right now as a franchise with the turnover that we've had at coach, the turnover that we've had at GM, the turnover we had at the quarterback position, the not so much turnover we had on the offensive line. That we're stuck in this position, and in the defensive line as well, and our secondary and our ball boy, for all intents and purposes. We haven't even addressed our ball boy yet. We need to address our ball boy, because I don't even think he's doing his job the right way.
Fuck that ball boy.
But let me just get a shout out to some of the guys that are in the chat. Raider Paul, thanks for the Jelly Roll comment.
Jelly Roll.
You only wish to be like me. Frank Weber was in the chat earlier. I saw you, Frank Weber. Let me see if I could find your. Oh, you got a super chat here as well on your end. I'm not monetized, so don't. When we do these, it's just
cheers.
You got $2 for extracurriculars. Money Chuck, thanks for coming in, brother. I know I posted some of your stuff. Bird in the hand, thank you. Candy Angel, thank you so much for coming in on that side. We got Raider Rebel, Unleashed Raiders. We've where are you at? Raider Paul, we got you. Furpo, we've already. Thanks for coming in. I'm not bueno. Arnie Garza, thank you so much for coming in, brother. Question is, who is the first scenario at head coach if we wait too long and Kubiak and LaFleur stay as OC in their respective teams?
Oh,
that's bad. That's a ladder kicked out from underneath you moment right there.
Patrick Graham.
Really?
Yeah.
You're serious?
I'm absolutely serious. I don't know why. I know this dude's defense has been up and down. He finally built it, put it all together. They come and tore it up this year. Getting rid of Hobbs and Divine Diablo and Trayvon Morey
and Meek Robertson.
Robinson, like all these guys.
Clavion Chase on.
Yeah, Clavion, like the other guy we got from the Chicago Bears a couple years ago with the hell Bly Nichols. Like we've had guys that have been decent and they start to get decent, they become free agents and they let them go. And also we've brought in coaches like Josh McDaniels. We know Josh McDaniels he's a control freak. He has to have everything his way. He wasn't allowed. We've seen as soon as he was out of the building and Antonio Pierce took the handcuffs off of Patrick Graham and said, do your thing. The defense overnight was like that, right? It was a totally different defense. We went and got out, Jack Jones. We went and brought in who else? Caleb. Was it Caleb on that year or the following year?
Yeah, Caleb on Chase on.
Yeah, so we went and brought in guys that helped this team and made this team, nasty, and the players played to their strengths and they put the players in their strengths. So Patrick Graham, when you listen to his press conference, and I ask anybody, go listen to his press conferences and really listen to what he's saying, to the questions they're asking him. He breaks down any player they ask. He breaks down any coach they ask, their offense, their defense, how their style they run, why they do it, how to beat it. And he always throws in indie windows, like, basically I could destroy these dudes if you just give me what I need to do it and let me cook, right? Like he's a mastermind. He's one of the most brilliant minds in all of football. He's been on the offensive side of the ball. He's been on the defensive side of the ball. He knows how to scout quarterbacks, and they just don't give him any credit or any ability. And he was this point away from being the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach that I believe could probably be in the same position they were in with Liam Cohen if Patrick Graham was that guy. He knows the people in the building. the people that have been there for a while love Patrick Graham. They all, praise him. Max Crosby says he's the greatest defensive mind he's ever seen, right? So, if it all comes down to it, and I've been saying on my show, like on my channel for, all this offseason, why isn't Patrick Graham got an interview? He should have been the number one guy to get a head coaching interview. And, even if you're trying to fill the Rooney Rule or not fill the Rooney Rule, right? I think it's disrespectful just having that thing in there anyways. But that should have been the first. That should have been the first interview. I think he's earned it. He's been there for a reason. Through 3 different head coaches, they kept him for a reason, right? They keep bringing him back. They even brought in a Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll was like, "No, let's bring back Patrick Graham. Like, I think I can work with Patrick Graham."
Well, I haven't mentioned Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll did stymie a lot of what Patrick Graham had building.
Yeah, because he wanted to run a lot of cover 3, and he had handcuffs on him. He wouldn't let him blitz. Like, the Raiders were the least blitzing team in the NFL.
Well, a cover 3, that front 4 has got to get after it on a cover 3. Not so much a 5 or 6 man pressure, but you got to be able to get home with a 4-man pressure.
No, but when you're running cover 3, you have a jack for a reason. You could send the jack. You can blitz the corner, right?
Yeah.
You're running cover 3. You can mix shit.
You got an extra body, yeah.
And Patrick Graham is good at doing that when he's allowed to. He showed with AP he could do that, right? He showed, even with Josh McDaniels for a while, like, defense wasn't bad. It was starting to come together. He just didn't have the pieces he got. And as he, slowly building the pieces, if you look at our drafts, first round, Ashton Genty, first round, Brock Bowers, first round, besides Tyree Wilson, every first, second, third round pick has been offensive, offense. We don't have no first. The only first round pick we have on our defense is from other teams. It's Eric Stokes.
Yeah.
And the dude that broke his leg. The hell is his name? But yeah, and former first round picks, like those somewhere else. Second round picks on defense. Name me a second round pick.
Porter was the 3rd round.
We don't have a first or second round pick on our defense that's been drafted.
What was Chin drafted by Washington? He was drafted pretty high by Washington.
I think late in the first round. I think possibly in the first round, maybe second.
So I don't know if we're going to keep him. I wouldn't mind keeping him.
It just depends on what kind of defense we run.
Well, that and what kind of contract we can get out of him too that doesn't hamstring us at that position, because that's another position that's going to need to be filled in the next year or two, going either through free agency or the draft. Most likely through the draft, because he's we got him in a free agency deal. Is he on a 1-year or 2-year deal? I'll look at it later. I don't really care at this point. I don't care.
Who is it?
Jeremy Chin.
I think he signed a 3-year deal, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't remember his contract.
I think it's 3 years, like 16 mil. I think he got like 4 mil a season. I want to say somewhere.
Arnie's got a question. Arnie's got a question here. How attractive is the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching opening compared to the last 4 openings that we've had?
Compared to the last 4?
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to say. I think, you have Ashton Genty already in place. You have Brock Bowers in place. You have, I think, which, a lot of people are forgetting the fact that, and we'll talk about this later, Max Crosby hasn't talked to anybody in the building since he's left or surgery. That's a big thing. So there's the possibility of, maybe coming in and having the option to, put Mac on Crosby on the trading block, right? Like they did with Khalil Mack when you brought in John Gruden. So there's always that but out there. It depends on I'm sure, but like I said before, I did a whole show of questions you would that I would ask if I was, the GM interviewing for the head coaching job, and of course, one of them is going to be like evaluate this roster, and do you think it's best to take your quarterback now with the number one over pick, and is Mendoza that guy, or do you possibly try to shop him and trade back? Because again, like I said, it doesn't have to be for draft picks, right? There's been talks about Lamar Jackson. You could trade it for a player. You could trade it for, a
Don't want
pick.
him.
You could trade it for two players. I mean, you could trade it for however the value is. And I believe, winning the Heisman, the run, 4th and 5 to score a touchdown, depending on how people look at that. But if you look at it the way I look at it, Heisman Trophy winners, national champions, find me a Super Bowl winner out of those.
There's only been two winning quarterbacks that won the Heisman, and that's Roger Staubach and Jim Plunkett.
That's and they had to go to other teams. It was way down in their career. Plunkett wasn't drafted a Raider; he was drafted a Patriot.
Yeah, but I mean,
so it's it's way down his career that he won 2 Super Bowls, right? It was what, 8 years into his career, 9 years into his career, just like Gannon. Same thing with Gannon. But I did it the other day, and y'all can go check it out. But we did a whole live talking about over the last 25 years, quarterbacks taken number 1 overall. There has been 21 or 22 quarterbacks taken number 1 overall in the last 25 or 26 years. And out of those quarterbacks, only 6 of them have ever even made it to a playoff. Only 3 of them or I think 5 of them have ever won a playoff game, and only 2 have made it to a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It was Jared Goff and Joe Burrow. And out of those, even if you're looking at 2nd or 3rd round overall picks, it's still hard to find. So taking a guy and looking at statistics, and that's the new big thing is, statistics now in the NFL. Everybody's looking at the data, comparing numbers, comparing stats. Should we go for it on first down? Should we draft this guy? It's this. You could look at, you could ask AI anything. What's the longevity of this guy's career? How many tackles do you project this guy to have? Right. So everybody's looking at the future of AI. And if you're looking at statistics, how can you say Fernando Mendoza is the guy that's going to beat all those odds and be one of those 6 out of 24 guys to possibly make a playoffs? That's a hell of a big swing.
But if you also look at statistics and look at his comparatives coming out, there's one statistic specifically that kind of hinders that. If you push it out, it'll probably be a whole different story. And that's pass attempts and completions are way low. But if you look at his percentages and his touchdown to interception ratio and his 3rd down efficiency, it's all top notch.
But shouldn't they be if you're only throwing the ball 20 times a game and you have a low percentage, like come on,
he's at 72%. He's at 72%.
72%. Last year Curtis Rourke was at 73.8%.
Mm-hmm.
With more attempts.
Curtis Rourke didn't beat Alabama and Oregon, and he didn't beat
because he didn't have
Ohio State.
He didn't have the team around him.
Like we said earlier in the comment when we started, how do we correlate the quarterback's win-loss record when it's actually 53 other guys that got to go out there and perform as well, right? So it's kind of it's an if and or but, right? So if you look at the totality of it, is the only thing that I'm seeing and like I said, is there are some certain characteristics built into that kid that they just check the boxes of what you want in a franchise quarterback. And if you look at this year, 29 of the 32 starting quarterbacks week 1 were taken in the top 40 of the draft. So there's only 3 quarterbacks that weren't taken in the top 40, and that's Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, and Dak Prescott. Those are the only 3 quarterbacks that started day 1 this year that weren't taken in the top 40 picks. So way back when I was watching these draft gurus do their thing, and they all pretty much agreed that if you were going to set yourself up with a franchise quarterback, it's usually within the top 40. When you take a quarterback after 40, you're usually drafting him with the quote-unquote intent of him being a backup that could develop into a starter that hopefully could take you to a franchise quarterback. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's kind of it's a convoluted situation, and I get it, man. We're sitting at number 1 with the guy that has a lot of in Raider Nation has a lot of question marks about him. I get it, and we're in a uncharted territory with the number 1 pick because it's only happened 3 times in our whole existence, and to have that number 1 pick, knowing how our team was last year and how we can turn it around, is he the guy that can do it? I don't. That's a huge unknown. It's almost like stepping off the space shuttle into space and going, am I going to get back or am I going to be stuck in space? You know, it's if or. My only take is I've seen what I've seen. I like what I've seen, and what I've seen can be expanded on and be very valuable at the NFL level. That's my take. Now, if you want to
first overall pick for you in the draft.
Well, here's the deal. Do we wait? How long do we wait to get a franchise quarterback? Because all the other pieces we could build through the draft and through free agency just as well. It's more difficult to get a franchise quarterback than it is to get the other positions. Point blank. And I'm telling, and if we sit and we wait, thinking, okay, we'll give it another shot in 2027, but this is how we're going to do this year. If we wait till 2027 and say we accidentally win 7 games next year, or even 6 games puts us at number 13 in the draft order. Well, who the hell is going to want to go back from number 2 to number 13?
The chance of winning 6 games in this division with Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator with the Chargers, with Eric Bieniemy being back with the San Francisco 49 but they're
going to be without Mahomes for the first 9 games next year.
Still, even with Bieniemy with the Kansas City Chiefs, they'll figure it out somehow. And then you got a team that's in the AFC Championship in the Broncos, and we're going to come in here and compete with Davis Webb, who's never coached in his life, and Fernando Mendoza. We're going to come in here and compete with a guy like Kubiak, who may or may not be that leader in the locker room. He may be a Josh McDaniels type guy where you could be a great offensive mind, but can you be a leader of men? Because if you can't be a leader of men, you can't lead and be a coach in the NFL. It fails all the time.
Now, and did Mendoza show leadership?
He showed leadership. Yeah, he showed leadership. He shows heart. He showed, a 1-2 for his team. He showed all that. There's no question.
And that was the biggest draw on our team this year. We had no leadership.
There's no question he has the mind talent. There's no question he has, the film study, the film habits. I just question the biggest thing is.
And championship teams have more than one player that's
what's his floor and what's his ceiling. And if I'm looking at him right now, I'm saying his floor, it could, it could be anywhere. it could be bust. It could be, depending on what the Raiders do or what they build around them or what system he's in.
What's his ceiling now?
His ceiling is, how much better?
Mind you,
could
he's only 9 months younger than Arch Manning.
Okay, so I mean, he's gonna in the NFL. You're gonna get better at reading defenses. You're gonna get better at pre-snap reads. You're gonna get better,
He's pretty good at pre-snap reads.
at precision. You're gonna get. I mean, what ceiling? You're not gonna get faster. Is your arm gonna get stronger? Are you gonna be able to throw it farther down the field? Like I don't know these things. I don't know where his ceiling. He might be pretty close to it. I don't know how much more upside he has in the NFL, right?
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at his time in Cal, if you look at it to where he's at now, I see the only difference in what he did this year and last year is he made better decisions. He had a whole another year experience, and he had a national championship team around him with a hell of a coaching staff that
I would say the coaching staff was national championship caliber. The team wasn't.
that came from that came from a Nick Saban system that I mean even Saban said, bro, I mean, he already knew what Signetti was going to be because he was a guy that was, constantly telling him, hey, we should do this, don't do this, change this, do that. And Saban said he listened to him. Go watch the pivot with Saban. He talks very highly of Signetti. So, we all know that. And when you have the same coaching staff everywhere you go, I mean, that's I don't know how to explain in words what that would be like for somebody to say, I'm okay, I'm fired here, or I'm quitting here, I got a promotion here, and I'm not gonna have to find a head coach, quarterback coach, offensive, line coach, like defensive coordinator. I'm gonna bring in guys with me that already know everything I want to do. So now I don't have to teach these coaches how to teach these guys. These coaches know how to teach these guys. They know what I want. They know when I want it, how I want it, where I want it. Right? They've been together so long. So I think that aspect of it is they were going to be good no matter where they went. Right? They were pretty much good anywhere they went. Right? That's why they kept moving up and up and up and up. And so I don't know where his. I think he's probably, somewhere at his ceiling. I mean, I don't know how much better he's going to get in the NFL.
I think there's a lot more. There's some very and here's the deal with him, and he's coachable, right? He's very, very coachable, and that in and of itself goes a long ways to how you're going to build your program and who comes in to build that program. I think Clint Kubiak, his success has been rehabilitating. His resume is Sam Darnold from what he did with him in San Francisco, and then meeting back up in Seattle and doing what they did in Seattle this year.
Right.
I mean, I know Sam Darnold did some great things in Minnesota, but I think what Kubiak has gotten out of him in Seattle is that much better because he doesn't look in Minnesota. He pissed down his leg in the playoffs. He hasn't pissed down his leg yet in the playoffs. Granted, they've only played one game, but he was solid as a rock. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a lot of people looking at this game coming up. I don't know how you feel, but Charbonnet's out. He tore his ACL. That's going to make a big difference on how that game plays out Sunday.
We're going to find out exactly what Sam Darnold is. I feel like Sam Darnold, a lot of people, Kubiak, Seattle.
And that Rams defense can come alive at any moment.
A lot of people are taking credit for this man's success. And I think Sam Darnold's success needs to be attributed to Sam Darnold, his never giving up. He was labeled a bust. He was, a first round pick that bounced around and bounced around and bounced around and bounced around. And finally it clicked with the right team and the right system. Same thing with Fernando Mendoza. It finally clicked. And it might have been the coaches, right? But, the head coach and the system and all that. But I think this guy finally put it together. There's only two quarterbacks in the history of the NFL that have ever won more than 14 games back to back in a season. And that's with two different teams. Only one has done it. Like there's only one that did it on the same team. He's the only one I believe that's done it on two different teams. So that's special in its own right. And two different OCs, two different head coaches, receivers, the that you hear about how long it takes to build a camaraderie with your guys. Like it seems like he just stepped in and had it. Like they had it in the preseason. They had it from day one with Jackson Smith and Jigba, with all his receivers. And I think Sam Darnold was a former number one pick for a reason. But just another example of maybe a guy that's
sometimes it just change of scenery helps a lot.
Just wasn't ready and needed the right people around him and somebody to realize, hey, this dude can't do what we're asking him, so let's have him do what he does good, and let's put people around him that can complement that. And damn, when you do that in the NFL, you're bound to win. Let me say Arnie Garza says Curtis Rourke didn't beat anybody ranked. Not a good leader. Couldn't beat Penn State and Ohio State. Well, the Penn State, they had Drew Allar, who Drew Allar was tops of being talked about being the number one quarterback in the draft last year, if we all remember, and then he decided to come, stay in school. So Penn State didn't have that this year when Fernando Mendoza beat them. And also last year, they had in Ohio State Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson. And I shouldn't have to say any more about that, about how Curtis Rourke couldn't beat that team. They had an NFL dude calling plays, and they also had the quarterback who somehow, Will Howard, who somehow took his team to a national championship, had better stats than Mendoza all around this year in every single category, and fell to the third or fourth round. I don't understand that. How? Explain me that. So, yes, he lost to those teams, but Will Howard last year was a dog, and you could see how smart that is. For anybody that doesn't know how smart he is, go back and watch, Barstool Gruden when he brought the quarterbacks in and was having them go up on the board and write plays and, why would you do this? And how would you do this? How are you going to beat cover 3? How are you going to beat cover 4? Will Howard, I don't know how the hell that dude didn't get drafted in the first round. It just amazes me. And then people are going to try to convince me that Fernando Mendoza did anything different or better than what Will Howard did. Now you can say Will Howard, yes, he had a bunch more, probably 5-star recruits and all that. But
that's kind of, I think that's where the grading process changes.
But to say Curtis Rourke, didn't do anything, wasn't here and couldn't beat those dudes is just crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah, so Will Howard's touchdown to interception ratio was almost the same. Fernando had 5 more touchdowns and 2 less interceptions.
In what? 13 games or through the
for the season. For the season. Yeah. For the season. Will Howard had 35 touchdowns last year, whereas Fernando had 41.
Like I said, they had Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson, which
the misnomer is
both had over 1,000 yards rushing. So he's going to have
the misnomer is the amount of attempts to completions, and then also to who was Will Howard throwing the ball to. You know what I mean? So they also had a better receiving core than what Fernando had. Now, don't get me wrong. What Will Howard did last year was spectacular.
It was great.
And I agree with you. I agree. And in a roundabout way, I agree with you on why did Will Howard slip to 6th round of Pittsburgh? It kind of mind boggles me. I think in the long run, it's the development and processing, and what was Will Howard's one? What was his mechanics like? What was his preparation like? You see what I'm saying? Because Ohio State and Georgia have had quarterbacks come through their program in the last few years that they were on successful teams, that are built, really built, but they take away, like Carson Beck. He went to Miami. What he did at Miami this year was spectacular. I couldn't be happier for a guy. You want to talk about comeback player of the year? That's it
and
right there.
not even talked about in the first, second, or third round.
Well, is he coming out?
Like, he has to. He has to. Carson Beck is his last. He's already won 2 national championships. He graduated 2 years ago. The dude's just been hanging around college playing football.
But I also think there's some off the field stuff with Carson Beck as well that it kind of has people leery.
Well, I mean, he does have a porn-star girlfriend, but
yeah,
he doesn't.
And there's some photographs that hit the old interweb, the interweb that some people are like, yeah, no, we're good, and it shies people away. But throughout, we've been on here for 2 hours and 15 minutes, bro. Man, I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, bro. I've had a blast tonight.
Appreciate you having me.
We've had 25 people in the chat, and I know I just wanted, basically, in all essence, I just wanted to clear the air because I think, well, I kind of took it personal when you said, when you read my text, I was like, motherfucker, he's known me for how long now? But we've never communicated in person.
I think you kind of took it personal. I'm just talking shit. I talk shit to everybody, so I thought we knew each other better than that.
Oh, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to take somebody's fucking birthday away from him either. But
because I
was
I didn't know.
But then I started thinking. I go, okay, well, for the longest time, I had my tag name was my name, Jason Downs, and then I changed it when we started this show. So I didn't know if you correlated the two together or what, because you almost talked to me, because when I did the chat as Jason Downs, you're like, yeah. And then I text you, hey, one day I'm going to start my own show. Would you want to collaborate sometime? Oh, most definitely. Like, I was like, cool. I got a good guy in the content world that I can hook up with. We could throw a show together, have some fun with it.
Yeah, for sure.
That takes it there. I was like, the fuck? I was like, okay. The only reason why I sent that was because that's the last drive of the Penn State game, and it kind of answers some of the questions that weren't being answered as to how he performed in that last drive.
Yeah,
like the deal was, one of the comments was he can't deliver pass. He when he's under pressure, he's not that good. But I'm like, wait a second, hold on.
But that's why
I know that play, and I know the Ohio State play when the game was on the line and he dropped that ball in the bucket on a 35-yard fade route the hash marks. I was like, okay, I seen the guy play. I was like, and that play against Penn State, believe it or not, you're absolutely right. The receiver had to make a great catch, but you also got to give credit to the quarterback too, because the way he was under duress to throw that ball, good Lord, I was like, even the announcer was like, "Give him the Heisman now."
That's why if you look at great quarterbacks, like even Brady, no matter where he was drafted, right? His ball placement, and somebody said something about Mendoza's ball placement is the greatest. Find him one in the draft. I think that's crazy, bro. I don't know what film you're watching, because if you look at his ball placement, yes, it's okay, but when your quarterback, when your receiver, is even not even on the back shoulder throws, just some of the throws, twisting completely around because he's looking over this way and he's like, oh shit, I need to come back over this way, right? Like there's a lot of those throws consistently, and a lot of them against teams that weren't great at all, right? They didn't put up
huge. There's a lot of throws that he does where it's not like
Ohio, people want it pretty, but Ohio State was, when they're playing teams that teams like that, they're beating these teams like 65-3, or you know what I mean, and these teams are putting up points against Indiana. Indiana just got better and better and better as they went, and they grew together. So I think it's so much of a team victory and a team championship over there that you can't really say this guy, you know, is a guy that's going to change a franchise in the NFL, or a guy that's going to, carry a team on his back in the NFL, because the guys are bigger, stronger, and faster. And like you said, he runs a 4.8. Well, that 4.8, bro, you're getting chased down by nose tackles in the NFL at 4.8. I guarantee you, these dudes running 4.7. So, like, I mean, and defensive ends are running, 4.4s and 4.5s, and linebackers running 4.5s. So, I mean, the speed is way different in the NFL, and if, there's no way you're taking off or making any of those runs. And sideways, side to sideline, his movement it's awful in my opinion. It's very slow. But if you're talking straight line speed, then yes, he looks very fast. He's quick. But when you have to,
he actually runs the same 40 as Dante Moore.
Have movement. I never said Dante Moore was fast either. He's just more.
That's more.
I think more. It looks more pocket awareness too. Like how the hits Mendoza was taking in in the last couple games when guys do get free. Like he trusts his offensive line to not even flinch or think that he's getting hit. Like if you can't feel somebody 285 pounds, like like Hakeem Mesidor coming over, coming behind your back when you're completely face to him. Like there's no way. Like you gotta have an internal clock. And I think that some of those situations I just don't.
That's coachable though.
And all those are coachable. But I mean, how much do you pick a first overall pick that needs all this coachable shit, right? When you're picking number one overall to be your franchise, you're saying, all right, this guy could start day one and we might need to fix this or this, but we're not having to fix this and this and this. You're running, keeping your eyes downfield, having, putting loft on your ball, when to put loft on your ball, not throwing it so hard up close, because there was a lot of drop balls because you're throwing it 90 miles an hour like a baseball up close. Arm angles, right? I know he's tall and 6'5", but when you have to, different positions, different arm angles. I haven't seen him, from different arm angles, off the back foot, bad situations, and still complete accurate balls. And that's a problem. Like you have to have those attributes in the NFL just to be a starter. And I mean, to be picked number one, like it's a special pick, and you have to have everything, in my opinion. Like if you look at Caleb Williams, he can throw the ball 90 yards downfield. He has a great internal clock. He doesn't make a lot of interceptions. He's not the fastest guy, but he will make guys miss, right? He can throw he can make every throw, sideline to sideline, deep downfield. There's nothing he can't do. There's questions about, can Mendoza make this throw on the run? Can he make this throw on the run, sideline to sideline? Can he throw the ball with anticipation deep down the field past 20 yards? There's a lot of questions about his game that, to me, just don't say number one. Is he great? Is he first overall? I mean, yeah, shit. If he was 15, then it would look much better, right? Even at 10, if there was other quarterbacks in his draft, it would look much better. But number one overall, there has to be.
I think that's the biggest hang up with, especially in Raider Nation right now, is the fact that there's not enough of the other quarterbacks to go, like when you're going to a buffet, but you only have one choice of tacos. Whereas if you go to another buffet, you have salads, you got tacos, you got steak, you got,
carnitas. Yeah.
Right. You have all the different variations in a real world. And that's because I'm looking, everybody's saying next year's draft is going to be quarterback heavy. Yes, it's going to be quarterback heavy, but they're all going to be in that same category unless somebody just all of a sudden takes leaps and bounds progress and just solidifies themselves and isolates themselves from the rest of them. If you look at those quarterbacks that are, other than the kid from Duke had a little bit better numbers, and Sorsby had a little bit better numbers, but Arch Manning's numbers ain't even fucking close to what Fernando did.
But if you look at Arch Manning's compared to Fernando Mendoza's first year or second year in college football, they are. if you look at his rushing yards, they're insane. It's not even close.
But I'm not. Look, I don't want a rushing quarterback. I don't want a rushing quarterback.
I don't like mobile court. I want a guy that can stand in the pocket too. But it's nice to have that aspect where if a guy has to and everything breaks down, like Josh Allen, like Burrow does, like Lamar Jackson has learned to do. It's just so much nicer to have that in the NFL. But then you see guys like Philip
I saw Mendoza get out of the pocket, turn the corner on Alabama against a bunch of fast ass secondary people and get upfield and get a first down. I mean, he runs he's fast enough to get his ass out of trouble. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
So definitely. I'm going to pose a question. I'm going to pose a question to you real quick and see what you think. See if you can decipher this. Can you tell me the difference between a talented quarterback versus a great quarterback?
A talented quarterback between a great quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a talented quarterback has, talent. He has mobility, whatever, can read defenses, can go up to the board and draw plays, right? Knows football, can throw with anticipation, can throw with timing, can play in different systems, right? You don't have to have just one system that he's good in, and then if something breaks down, you have another system. So I think
I can help you out with it real quick, and this is just kind of a nomenclature one that this is something that friend of mine, me and a friend of mine, that's he's a quarterback guru. He coaches college football, and I asked, he had posed this to me and said, "You tell me the difference between a talented quarterback and a great quarterback." And I said, "Yeah, a talented quarterback has all the talent in the world. A great quarterback is one that uses it to his best advantage," which in a roundabout way is right. But I'll just kind of break it down into 4 pieces for you on each one. A talented quarterback is considered the tool guy. He has physicality, possesses super arm strength, speed, and athleticism. Potential is high capability to make impossible throws or escape pressure. Often cited and included with the following: Aaron Rodgers for raw talent, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. Can sometimes rely too much on his physical ability without mastering the mental portion of the game. A great quarterback is the winner guy. He's the one is elite at reading defenses, decision-making, and passing progression, maintains high-level performance over a long career, defined by wins and championships for many clutch performances in big games. The examples that they give are Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
But don't we have that in the building?
What's that?
Didn't we draft that kid 4th round in 2023, Aiden O'Connell?
22.
22? Like, don't we have a kid that can read defenses, that can change the play at the line of scrimmage, that can read pre-snap, that's decisive and knows where he's going with the football, walking up to the line of scrimmage or standing in the pocket, in shotgun? We already have that kid. He's been in the building for 3 years and he's going on his 4th year. So
yeah, but one thing with Aiden O'Connell too is he loses his momentum.
What do you mean he loses momentum?
He will go on a streak of a lot of completions. He went 10 for 22 in the last game that he played. That's not good.
No, that's not.
And trust me, I love Aiden O'Connell, man. What he did his rookie year, that was by all means, you can't take that away from the kid.
But they did. They did.
I know. And I was that guy. I was that guy that run it back. Why are you guys fucking around with Gardner Minshew? Why are you fucking around with Gardner Minshew? Put Aiden O'Connell in. Because we already saw what he did in the last stretch. He's a winner. He didn't win all the games, but he was 5-5 as a rookie with an alternate offensive coordinator who didn't even have the original offensive coordinator, didn't even have the original head coach. He was suppressed beyond belief, and his best performances have been against Kansas City. He's 2-1 against Kansas City. Well, I'm going to say he's 2-1. Even though Kenny Pickett started this game, AOC won that game.
Well, Aiden O'Connell would be, 3-0 if it wasn't for the botched snap by center JPJ. He was looking to the sideline and they hiked the ball. They were up in that game. He had 340 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. 0 interceptions, 0 takeaways. So, but what I'm saying is, you have a kid that was drafted by Josh McDaniels, who has Drake May in the playoffs in his first year being there, who has the exact same thing. He's a tall pocket passer, got the right arm length. Tom Brady was his favorite quarterback growing up, wants to wear his number, wants to be just like him. You had all that in Aiden O'Connell. You had that. You had it at a 4th round for $1.2 million. And now you're telling me we're going to draft the same type of guy that might have,
but faster.
Is he faster?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Is he faster?
He'll run circles around AOC.
By the way, Aiden O'Connell actually his speed coming out of college was a 4.86 or a 4.82. It was faster.
He'll run circles. He'll run circles.
It was faster than Patty that ran a 4.9. So, he's got those long legs. Yes, he's goofy as hell, and yes, he can't slide. But either can Mendoza. Have you seen him try to slide?
He goes head first.
Yeah, that's. I mean, come on, that's not going to work in NFL. So, but I'm saying if you're looking at the smarts, if you're looking at the ability to know NFL, if you're looking at the experience, Aiden O'Connell by a mile, right? If you're looking at big games, Aiden O'Connell, 3 games at Purdue, over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. One of those was in a bowl game against Michigan State, who I believe was, had a damn good year that year. Always has a solid ass defense. So I didn't see Mendoza throw 500-yard games with 5 touchdowns. Not that he had to, but could he? If he had to, like if his running back, if the running game wasn't working, and they didn't stick with a coach that had 3 solid running backs that you can just cram the ball down somebody's throat over and over again with some hogs up front. Like, could you be that guy? Could you throw the ball for 40 plus yards a game and still have the same completion accuracy, the same percentage, the same QBR? Could he be that guy? And I don't think so. I don't think he's that guy that can go out there throw 40 times a game.
I like this comment that Gareb has here. I don't know how to say. I'm sorry if I hacked your name or whatever. The NFL will put a stop to the back shoulder pass. He won't get away with it. That throughout the game, problem is our defense isn't going to stop teams from scoring, and Mendoza is going to have to score a lot. Which kind of in around, but you're absolutely right. Until we get the defensive side of the ball, and you know what, it could possibly be a couple pieces, and the coaching on the decent. You got to remember. The defensive coaching has been in place for 4 years, and we haven't seen any success on the defensive side of the ball. It's been leaky at best. There was one year that Josh McDaniels got fired, that last 8 to 10 games, the defense came alive and started to play a little bit better. I'll give you that. But after that, it still did not progress the way it should have. You know what I mean? And granted, Telesco and Spytech didn't give the tools to Patrick Graham that he needed to make that to work it to his system. Now, as far as the back shoulder fade, his back shoulder fade is going to be more deadly in the NFL than it is in college. The reason being is in college, you can bump the receiver all the way down the field, and you can knock him off his route 10, 12, 15 yards down the field. You can't do that in the NFL. Once he gets past 5 yards, you can't knock him off his route. So now the only thing you could do is index. They let you get away with indexing. Indexing means using an elbow, using your hand, touching the receiver as you're going down the field. You can do that. They'll let you get away with that. Now the back shoulder fade, here's where the back shoulder fade could become really deadly. If he takes it, what he's done and how he's learned how to build that timing with his receivers and execute that play at the college level, he goes in. And the reason why I said if he goes to the NFL, and executes it to the same standard in the NFL, that will open up a double move quicker in the NFL because of that 5-yard bump rule, right? And two guys that mastered that back shoulder fade was Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. It literally would piss defensive coordinators off. There was a lot of headsets thrown with them two throwing that back shoulder fade. And so it's not an accident that happens. That is totally you practice that. And when you get it down, it is a deadly weapon. And just like Aqib Talib said today on that podcast that I was watching, he goes, that's going to put that back shoulder fade that he throws and the way he throws it and how he positions and he reads it, it's going to piss a lot of cornerbacks off in the NFL.
I'm going to say this about that back corner throw. I'm going to say this about that back corner throw is that I think defenses, there's a reason that stopped working with Davante and DA. It worked pretty good with Aiden O'Connell and Davante Adams. That they were killing it his rookie year over there. So they were running that same shit over and over and over again with Davante Adams and Aiden O'Connell. He was just nailing those back shoulders. And with Kobe Myers, the same thing. He could throw those plays to the outside all day long. But I'm saying,
who else would be really, really good at the back shoulder throw? Brock Bowers. He's already done it.
Oh yeah, he's because he's just so physical in size. But I'm saying is, as a defender, you're gonna, you can't do what you do in college, right? You can't go out there and just be like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and we do it better than you, and we're gonna win that way. The Raiders aren't in that position, and they won't be for a long, long while. We just don't have the roster or the players. We don't have playmakers on defense, like you said about Patrick Graham. But we just don't have the playmakers. But teams and defenses in the NFL, they're going to catch on to those timing routes. They're going to watch film over and over and over again, and they're going to find something, with that play. They're going to be like, okay, we're going to play it like this. We're going to play zone, and we're going to act like we're playing off when they know it's coming. Just like somebody picked that shit off in the whatever game, the Oregon game, for a touchdown right at the beginning. That quick timing pass that knew it was there. Like that's just not going. It's going to last so long in the NFL, right? You got to have other plays, and I just don't see that, being that strong as it is in college right now.
I'm not a dual threat quarterback, which today's NFL quarterbacks are. There's some pretty good quarterbacks that aren't dual threat. So, I mean, we're looking at 1, 2.
And, like I've said a million times, I love pocket quarterbacks. Like I still believe in this day and age that as long as you have a guy that doesn't turn the ball over, that can stand in the pocket and throw the ball, it makes it easier for your offensive line. You can ask any offensive lineman to ever play the game or in the game right now, and they will tell you they prefer a guy that stands in the pocket. Why?
Oh yeah,
because they know where the guy is going to be. They don't have to. They don't have to look over their shoulder, and they don't have to have their quarterback getting sacked because they have leverage this way and their quarterback is dumb and decides to run that way where the guy just has to, just barely come off his block and make the play. You know what I mean? Like, so,
also too, offensive linemen, when they drop back and pass, their number one target is the chest play of the defensive lineman. And they're fighting off hands. So one of the things they want to do is they want to get in. And once they get in and they can cinch in this position, a mobile quarterback, because the defensive lineman can see him, the offensive lineman can't.
Yeah.
So he's got to mirror him, right?
Yeah.
A mobile quarterback goes to take off running. Guess what happens? Now you're holding. So you want to limit. You don't want that. Now, on the flip side, sometimes a mobile quarterback can defeat a blitz. Say a 6-man. You get a double A gap. You get a double A gap or a ghost. They run where the a delayed blitz through the A gap. So you got a 4-man pressure. The linebacker backs up. He's waiting for that guard to turn away from him and then shoot the gap. That's where a mobile quarterback can go, oh, okay. And usually man coverage, where it's deadly is when it's man coverage on the backside and everybody's got their back turned to him. And now that 5-man pressure, he could blow past that 5-man pressure and they're all got their backs turned. He can get upfield 20. Lamar Jackson's perfect at that. He can get up 30 yards before those guys could even turn around and recognize that he's on the run, which I get that. But dual threat quarterbacks don't necessarily equate to championship football because a lot of times the dual threat quarterback will rely on their athleticism more than they will on their football acumen.
Yeah.
And whereas somebody like AOC,
They don't get to develop it.
he knows he's not athletic, so he's got to use this up here to execute the plays.
But what AOC will do is he showed his toughness. When he broke his hand, he broke that hand. He finished the whole entire game. It wasn't until after the game they said it, he was playing with a damn broken wrist and hand and still trying to throw out the ball. So the dude's a competitor. He's got that, like I said, he's like Bambi on ice when he tries to run. He scares the shit out of me just because he's fragile but anybody can run straight line, bro. Like Brad Johnson. Brad Johnson was one of the goofiest, unathletic, quarterbacks I've seen, right?
Peyton Manning was the worst.
Peyton Manning too.
My God, he'd get out of the pocket, he'd start running. And I'm like,
but even Peyton Manning,
it's almost Christmas. You might want to get the first down. It's almost Christmas.
And what people don't understand is that Peyton Manning is, and Aiden O'Connell in college, I've argued with this people, a million times. Those numbers that they get rushing don't show up on the stats on their rushing because they take sacks, right? So when you rush the ball and then you get sacked, those rushing yards you get taken away. So you're losing your rushing yards, right? It's part of
with the RP running the RPOs. If you do an RPO, quarterback, you get tackled, it's actually considered a tackle for loss, not a sack.
Yeah. So so you're losing your yardage,
So on a statistical average, Indiana averaged 38%. They ran an RPO 38% of the time. The NFL average is 8%.
Yeah,
you know who runs it the most in the NFL?
I would probably say Lamar Jackson.
Nope. Kansas City runs it 20% of the time.
I would say either Lamar. Yeah, either Lamar, them, or the Eagles.
Kansas City runs the RPO 20% of the time, and their run game really bounces off the RPO because most defenses are afraid of Patrick Mahomes getting outside the pocket and throwing the ball over their head. So even Crosby, when he plays against Kansas City, his number one responsibility is get outside and pressure Mahomes from the backside instead of up the middle. Now this year he did a lot of tight end stunts. It's kind of weird how they did it. It wasn't so much a tackle in stunt, but the defensive tackle would go upfield and then he would try and get past him on the inside through the A gap, but when that's executed to perfection and he's got a run and start, he just kills quarterback. He hits that quarterback. That's how last year when we were playing Baltimore, he did that. And he smacked old Lamar Jackson right in the face. It's like, damn, that was fast. I don't even think Lamar Jackson knew that was coming. So,
right. So yeah, man, I think like I said, like you could draft Mendoza. I'm sure it'll work, 2 or 3 years down the road. But if it doesn't, then this team is not only set back another 2 or 3 years, you missed out on a chance twice with the first overall pick as a franchise. And I believe that sets us back 10 years. And it's going to be horrible for the coach they draft. It's going to be horrible for Tom Brady. He's going to end up having to sell his stock in the team because he's not going to be able to take the shit that he's going to get from Raider Nation when that happens. You got Spytek on a 5-year deal. You got Brock Bowers already wasted 2 years. of his, pick 13 overall. You got Ashton Genty, a wasted year for his rookie year, right? So you got all these things coming up, and I see it as you have a 3-year window, 4-year window at the most, right? 3-year window. Like you have to be playoff bound and competitive within the next 3 years if you take Mendoza over number one overall. I think if you if you take bring a quarterback in the draft and wait, and you take a defensive player or build this draft or even an offensive lineman, the expectations aren't that much. And I think that Tom Brady and John Spytek are putting an awful lot on their shoulders by taking Mendoza number one overall. If this
you feel comfortable running it back with Smith?
Hell no. Geno should not even be in the building. Like it was so bad last year, even with the offensive line the way it was. Like it
not just play, his personality too through the way he behaved.
The shit with the fans.
Personality. Well, he was doing that with his teammates too, and he knew he could do it and get away with it because of his relationship with Pete Carroll.
Yeah,
because he made no bones of fucking boying out Thornton and Bash and whoever. Now he never dimed out Brock Bowers, because that would be you ain't got to worry about the team cutting you, boy.
Right. Yeah.
We know damn well it's not him, it's you.
I said about Geno in the first, when we first got him, I was like, man, it's going to be a problem because there's already been players in Seattle, and I have some people that live in Seattle that are Seattle fans, and it was a problem there. It was the same thing that happened with Russell Wilson. The players were pissed off because he had his own suite, had his own office in the building like a coach. And all the players were like, well, why does this dude get it and nobody else does? And he showed, when Russell left, he showed that same favoritism to Geno Smith. And I was told by a couple people that two of them are former players. They heard from former players. I didn't talk to them personally, but said that they weren't allowed to say shit to Geno Smith if he did something wrong, right? If there was a bad play, or if he said something to them or did some shit to piss them off, if they had a problem with Geno Smith, it was a rule in the locker room that if you had a problem with Geno Smith, you came to Pete Carroll and told Pete Carroll, and he would deal with the problem.
Yeah.
And you can't run
two grown-ass men need to be able to talk it out.
Yeah,
especially when you're playing NFL football.
And you got to run to daddy and tell him, Daddy, he's talking about me, right? Like you can't even have beef with a grown man. So yeah, that was Geno's got to go. He should have never been in the building. Trading the 3rd round pick, I was absolutely pissed for from the jump. I was like, there's no way you can justify trading a 3rd round pick for this guy. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, well, he's an if quarterback. So if this happens, and this happens, we should be good, right? Well, damn, that didn't work. Did not work. Yeah. Well, all right, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm gonna get up here.
Almost 3 hours, man. I've enjoyed it. I think we'll put a lot of stuff out there on this show that one way or another, whichever direction it goes. I'll be quite honest with you. Whichever direction it goes, I'm all for it. But at least have the plan, and let us be able to decipher what the plan is, so we can at least go. Okay. Now we can say trust the process. That the last 3 years, what the fuck has the process been? We don't know. Right?
The process has been commitment to failure.
Yeah, commitment to, well, maybe tomorrow we'll take care of it. But
commitment to failure.
We're having popsicles today. But I appreciate you coming on and joining us. You are more than welcome anytime, my friend, to come on. Usually we do Tuesday night, Showing Me Your Shield, where we bring Raider fans on. Predominantly, we like to talk about fandom in and of itself. Throw a little trivia questions out there, challenge you guys on some trivia. And I take my trivia all the way back to the heart of the nation. And sometimes I could throw some out there that people are like, well, okay. All right.
Right. Yeah, I got 50 years of that trivia stacked up too. So Yeah, we could do
No.
that anytime. Raider 510 says a third round pick for Gino turned into Jalen Milrow. Yeah,
Yeah.
just giving
Yeah.
him
And I'm
players.
not opposed to going after Malik Willis if he hits free agency either.
Um,
I'm iffy on it because I think what he did with how he was with Green Bay, was more along the lines of it was constructed for him to kind of show his highlights
yeah,
or his highs, but
yeah.
when he had his lows, it was like, no, I don't,
I would,
I don't.
I wouldn't take Malik unless you're trading the first overall pick and you're bringing in a Trinidad Chambliss. Like it makes no sense to bring in a smaller statue guy that has to move the pocket to throw the ball downfield. You know, he don't stand in the pocket and throw very much. They're two totally different quarterbacks. And it would be, it wouldn't make sense to me, just my opinion, to draft a guy like Fernando Mendoza that's totally different to learn under. Now, if you plan on getting Trinidad Chambliss and letting him sit for a year or two behind Willis, I think that would be absolutely the way to go, 1,000%. If you could pull that shit off.
But either way, I'm not throwing my colors away anytime soon.
Oh hell no! That's shit. That's just tatted on me for life.
Yeah, I'm not throwing my. I'm. You and I are both more invested in this team than any player that's wearing that uniform right now. Because in 10 years, when they're gone, we'll still be Raider fans.
That's what I've been saying. My whole life. I'm like, bro, I put in more time than every one of these players put together. Like shit, they come and they go. I'm still here. I've been here 50 years. Like so. You could take Max Crosby and Aiden O'Connell and Derek Carr and shit all their careers and add them up, and it still ain't been as long as we've been fans, right? So it's crazy, but we're still here, man. But man, I appreciate you on having
no problem.
me. So
any of you guys that are in the chat that haven't done so, that haven't been to Rebels channel, I posted in the link. I think I could do it again. Hold on.
If you're on my side, same thing. Jump over to Jason Downs, like, subscribe, follow, show him some love.
Hit those thumbs up, man. That's the key to thumbs up.
Yeah.
We'll kick out some shorts too. Go view those shorts, throw some thumbs up, and also comment, like, subscribe. None of us are perfect. We're mostly egregious fans that take it to the limit, and we only want what's best for our team. It's been 23 years of stupidity. And it's time we end the stupidity one way or another.
Right.
And I'm all for it. If we trade back, so be it. I like Mendoza. Don't get me wrong. I'm still going to root for the kid, whether he's a Raider or not, because of just what he's done. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be Mendoza. But I love the kid. I think the world of him. So
I don't even
said that.
I already got a T-shirt coming, so just to show my support. So.
I was actually going to buy an Indiana jersey only because it's such a novel concept.
See, that's the craziest thing. I've seen somebody else that's a content creator wearing an Indiana jersey that claims to be a fan of another team, and that's just that. I can't go that far. I'm loyal to the Raiders. I'm not as loyal to college teams, but
I'm not either.
To go buy a jersey for a team that you probably never. I mean, if you're an Indiana fan, that's great, but to go buy an Indiana jersey because Fernando Mendoza played there and he's coming to the Raiders is just wild to me. It's wild.
I am a temporary Cal Berkeley fan. I have been for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
A temporary Cal Berkeley. I'm only 75 miles from Cal Berkeley. But this year, one of my kids from Manteca High School broke Keenan Allen's passing record.
Nice.
And I know him personally. I love the kid. I hope he gets picked up on a roster. He's just he's only 5'8", but he was 2025 All ACC receiver. While he was at UNLV, he was second team All American kick returner. And if he was 5'9", 5'10", he'd have been playing at a Power 5 school, no problem whatsoever. Super talented, and that's a shout out to my kid. Love you, brother. If you're out there, I miss Pops a lot. Rick, he was a great guy. Jacob De Jesus, number 21 from Cal Berkeley. If anybody hasn't seen him, go back watch. Love the kid, and But other than that, Raider Nation, win, lose, or tie, Raiders till we die. We will see you on the next episode. Peace out.
Ray.
Cold open, counted out. Yeah, we heard the talk. Cold nights and long losses, still we walk. Scoreboard hurt, but the heart stayed real. Still wear the black, still flash the shield. From Oakland roots to Vegas dust, pain in the season, but we still trust. They say it's over, I say move on, but rain